everybody. We are live once again from Studio B here at Beach Street Yacht Club in San Francisco's beautiful Marina District. My co-host, Julia Vadikind, the Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club, is here. You know, Gerard Sheridan over at St. Francis, who watches the show regularly, said, I didn't know there really was a Beach Street Yacht Club. I'm starting to run into people who are members. And I said to Gerard, you should come over and maybe we'll make you a member.
Yeah.
But I said, anybody who asks how to become a member is banned for life.
Forever, yeah.
So don't ask. I'm your host, Tom Eamon. We have Hamish Ross standing patiently by down in Auckland, New Zealand. America's Cup historian and legal expert is with us today as we get this show number 858 on the road. Here's the starting line. Happy Tuesday and happy, Julia.
Yes.
World Snapper Day.
As in fish or cameras?
Well, you decide. Yacht racing news briefs. Before we get to Hamish, we're going to talk about Hurricane Erin for a moment. Chicago match racing, which took place last weekend. The Ocean Race Europe, which is in the middle of Leg 2. The 52 Super Series only got one race in today. It's pretty light in Mallorca. And then the Hamilton Island Race Week, which day one happened today. It's Wednesday down there now, as it is for Dr. Hamish Ross, also in down under in Auckland, and rather than up at Hamilton Island in Oz, our AC historian and legal expert friend who's been on the show a dozen or more times, and he's going to be talking about the good, bad, and the ugly of the AC38 Protocol, live from his home. I believe he's at his home in Auckland. Coaching Corner with John Emmett. He's back in Weymouth, more on promoting our beloved sport. And bravo Zulu to Quentin Delapierre in France and his French Sail GP team for the win. After their problems, the carnage on practice race day, they came back, sailed well, and won in Germany, the first ever German Sail GP. There's plenty of other carnage, too. We'll talk about that. Special This Day in History, and I have an idea, Julia.
Yes?
For a FOSI challenge related thereto, to today's 2 days.
Yes. This
Day in History. So think about what that is. Another bravo Zulu to a young offshore sailor or two, including our FOSI Jeffrey Peterson and especially Kelly Holtis and their completion of the Transpac. We have a nice little feature on them. Last leg, beautiful Admiral's Cup wrap video. And so the RORC has announced that the 2027 dates of the next Admiral's Cup will take place right in the middle of the America's Cup in Naples, if that really happens then and there, on top of the AC. And I have a one here of significance about another FOSI, about that Admiral's Cup 2027. And finally, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, our fantastic FOSI.
And more.
And more, Julia.
Yes.
Any bourbon cream in your coffee today?
None at all.
Well, we might have to do that, see how good Hamish is here, how good he is when we get to him in a moment. But we start off, that's our feature today, Dr. Hamish Ross, our longtime friend who I've known for, I guess, 25 years by now. Quick note on Hurricane Erin. Just as Mark Michelson predicted, just as he told us, he said this is going to graze the east coast of the United States. It's going to spare Bermuda, go between Bermuda and the North Carolina, thereabouts. And he said that track, which I sent him this morning from our National Hurricane Center, he said, yes, most likely, yes, that is the track. He says there is a high-pressure system here to the east, out over the Atlantic. And he says there's another high-pressure system out here over my home state in the Great Lakes area of Michigan and beyond, and those are steering Hurricane Erin right up and off the coast. So those of you in Newport, Rhode Island, you might get a little bit of weather. Those in North Carolina, Virginia might get a little bit of weather. Those in Newfoundland might get a bit of weather down the road. But otherwise, it looks like the first major storm, which was Cat 5 for a while, of the Atlantic hurricane season is not going to be a major, at least not a major issue. The Chicago Grand Slam that we talked about on Friday's show took place over the weekend in Chicago. I had to dig out the names of the winners. I knew the winning team.
Yep.
But man, oh man, was it difficult to find the names of the crew. What is wrong with regatta organizers who don't want to put names with faces? Please, please. So, and by the way, the PR guy we were trying to remember his name, Mr. Wilson, was Talbot Wilson.
Oh, yes.
And I didn't even look that up. It came to me laying in bed last night. What was that guy's name? He was a great guy.
Yeah, yes.
Died a few years ago. But still two of the most popular shows we've ever done over our now almost 10 years was the Bernie Wilson, who's the esteemed Associated Press, now retired writer, still covers our sport down in San Diego and beyond. But he came on and said, here's what I, as a media professional, need from regattas and classes when you're running events. And then we had Talbot Wilson on from the Gulf Coast, and he said, here's how we do it and what we do. We need to reprise, Julia.
Yes.
We need to reprise those shows and get an update.
Yes, we probably do need a little update on it, but they were both good, and we should also maybe do more like that because we haven't.
We haven't. You're right.
How-tos.
We have so many hot topics and so many hot guests, and we get people like Hamish Ross standing by when we can get him on the show.
Yes.
He wasn't sure he was coming on. I had to almost beg, borrow, and steal him to get on the show because he was conflicted. He can tell you why in a minute. But back to the Chicago, the World Match Racing Tour event this past weekend. It was won by Peter Holtz, who is a Chicago Yacht Club member. Bravo Zulu to Peter. He's been on the U.S. match racing circuit. He's an up-and-coming racer. Now, who are the rest of the crew? Well, I had to dig it out. Thanks to a Fozy, left to right, Tim Seamers, Peter Holtz, Ian Beckley, and Hector Guzman. And thanks to Larry Kennedy in New York City. He's probably watching, but I could not get the names from anybody from anywhere. And I called Larry and I said, who are these kids? You must know them. And he then called the skipper. He called Peter Holtz. He had his phone number and got it. And then we had a bit of a text. And he said, it's just me. I figured this out. This is Larry saying, members, they're all Americans. Hector has a green card and is considered American in the eyes of U.S. Sailing. He'd called Peter Holtz, to get these names. I asked him where the other two are from. Tom Seamers is the one on the gentleman on the left is from Minneapolis, so he's Scout country. And Ian Beckley coaches sailing at the University of Wisconsin.
Wow.
I wouldn't have known any of that had Larry not found that out and told us. And I texted him back and said, and people wonder why our beloved sport gets no mainstream or very little mainstream traction.
Yeah.
Those are all interesting facts.
We
are so lame, thanks Larry Kennedy.
Indeed.
Come on, people. Please put up names. And not you can't. It's one thing to put a picture up and then list their names under it. Okay, that's a start. But put them left to right, and that's difficult. Mm-hmm. You have to be a wedding photographer, Julie. You know how wedding photographers, the real pros, they go there and they take the picture, and then they've got their little notepad and they write down, okay, left or right, who is this? Tell me your names. Yeah. We've got to do that if we expect to promote our sport. Right?
Or begin putting in, there are known names here because so-and-so who is the press officer wasn't up to the task. Wasn't up to the task.
Well, I almost said, I almost said I'm not going to cover it. For example, Morgan Pinckney, he didn't have a very good regatta after having 2 or 3 pretty good regattas in a row. Morgan, Peter Barnard, Addie Fisher, Peter Foley, and Jimmy Prendergast, who must be the brother of Christian Prendergast, who was second, but they finished 8th. And again, if I go back to that photo, I don't know who's who except Morgan on the helm. I assume that's Addie. I guess that's a female name, and she's up there on the foredeck. But come on, people. Let's get with it. Please put names with faces. And I won't go beyond that. Yeah. Okay, that's my rant for the day. Other than unless Hamish gets me wound up, Julia.
Oh, well, he probably will.
He probably will. Look at him. He's grinning from ear to ear. The Ocean Race Europe, just briefly, this is the state of play. They are off the coast of España. Biotherm, which won leg 1, are leading, but just over Team Wholesome PRB. You remember Wholesome PRB was holed in that starting line incident, and that protest was going to be heard at the end of leg 2 in Cartagena. And 2 days into leg 2 of the Ocean Race Europe, and Bay of Biscay has delivered exactly what was promised, according to the Ocean Race Europe website. Tension, exhaustion, and a fleet locked together in a dead heat. At least 5 of the 7 boats. Less than 5 miles cover the top 5 boats as they approach Cape Finisterre, with no one able to break free. They're really off the Cape of France. They're not quite down to Spain yet. That is the look. And there is a closer up. You can see how close those top 5 boats are. The other 2 are back under the logo at the top. Biotherm first, Team Wholesome PRB second, Team Paprec Arkea third, Team Malizia, your team, Julia, in fourth, and then on down through 7th place. The battle at the front remains knife-edged. Excuse me, Team Wholesome PRB and Biotherm have exchanged the lead repeatedly since yesterday afternoon, while Team Malizia, Canada Ocean Racing, be water positive, and Paprec Arkea are right there within striking distance. And there is the leader again. The winner of leg 1. They are for the moment anyway. Last I checked, which was an hour or so ago, they were still the leader, barely, only a mile and a couple tenths over Wholesome PRB. Puerto Portales in Mallorca, the 52 Super Series kicked off today. It was pretty light. I watched it live this morning for a while. They only got 1 race in today. It was won by Alegre. And Alegre had a stellar race. The British boat, Vayu was second, Alpha Plus, Provezza, American Magic, Quantum Racing in 5th, and then on down the list. And they keep racing through the rest of this week in the Super Series, the 52 Super Series in Mallorca. Hamilton Island Race Week, which is one of the most spectacular, one of the greatest race weeks in the world. I've been there once with the Cup and one other time. It's just spectacular. They have multi-hulls. They have mono-hulls. And this year, after Slingshot today, was day 1. The Gunboat 68 Slingshot won today, day 3, I guess it was, of the 40th. This is hard to believe, the 40th Hamilton Island Race Week. Nice ink from Lisa Ratcliffe, bless her heart. And she sends pictures with names.
Yay!
And identifies the names and faces. They had this is the first time they invited some 49er sailors. So they have some Olympic sailing up there too. And they were Aussie and Kiwi 49er sailers. And the Palm Beach Motor Yachts sponsored this Trans-Tasman 49er exhibition series, they called it. They closed out today, well, it was Tuesday, today's Wednesday down there, with a showcase of elite high-performance skiff sailing that offered a taste of Whitsunday sailing at Brisbane 2032. Remember, the Olympic sailing is going to be up there, Julia. We've been when the games are in Brisbane, they're going to do the sailing up there someplace. They haven't quite identified the venue yet, or so they say. So they had these kids over. The 49er series was won by Seb Menzies and George Lee Rush from NZL, Hamish. Fellow sailors, look at him, he's smiling. He likes that. And you know who that is in the middle? He is the captain and skipper of Waxy of Wild Oats. That's Mark Richards. Yeah. And part of the organizing committee. And he's racing Wild Oats in the event. Australia's Laura Harding and Annie Wilmot thrilled local supporters by clinching the women's 49er FX. And indeed, thank you, Lisa Ratcliffe, Laura Harding on the left, and Annie Wilmot on the right. And I even went online, Julia, checked their pictures to see what they look like in real life, not in a photo. On the internet. And thank you, Lisa Ratcliffe and Hamilton Island Race Week. Bravo, frigging Zulu to you for doing that right. Julia, what are we celebrating today? Besides Dr. Hamish Ross and the good, bad, and ugly of the AC38 Protocol?
Snappers.
It is snappers. This was not the snapper fish, but it is today World Photography Day. A beautiful way to tell a story, express emotions. I mean, this is Sailing Illustrated. It's what we're all about, Julia.
Exactly.
And preserve the beauty of the world around us. Start capturing your own story today, which gives me an idea. And there is the photo that I couldn't find a better photo than that, but I thought that was a beautiful photo to talk about briefly. The history of the photography dates back to the early 1800s, pre-AC0, in France, when 2 men named Joseph Niepce. I even went on to try to pronounce that, and I don't have it right. I've forgotten how to pronounce it. Niepce, I think. Niepce.
No.
Yes, I think that's right.
Really?
Niepce. And Louis Daguerre developed the first ever photographic process, or daguerreotype. Following this, the invention was officially announced by the French Academy of Sciences in January of 1837. It is believed that the French government purchased the patent for the invention. 10 days after the announcement was made, the government did not copyright the patent and gave it to the world as a gift.
What a nice thing.
And it was on this day, you'll learn in this day in history, that they did that. And what did the guy get in return? He got a lifetime pension from the French government.
Well, lovely.
Well, only the socialists in France would do something like that. If it were Trump, Hamish, I'm going to turn Hamish's mic up. We'll get a little political commentary now from Hamish. Hi, Hamish. Hold it. Where are you?
Wait.
I don't hear you, Hamish. Let's get your mic turned on here. Go ahead.
Good morning, Tom and Julia.
If that were Donald Trump, shall I tell him the story? We're on here and we're doing, and we spend a bit of time before each show, as any of you who've been on the show know, trying technically to get the headspace correct on all three of us, to get the mic levels correct, and to get the color, the skin tones of all three of us more or less the same. We do a little color balancing. And I started adjusting Hamish, and he got a little too orange. And he said, I'm looking too much like that guy
the orange man
on Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington. Dr. Hamish Ross is with us from Auckland. And Hamish, I was going to ask you what you know about photography in the early part of the 19th century.
Well, interestingly enough, photography is very broadly as old as the America's Cup, which is quite fascinating. And it's I find it quite amazing. We can see photographs of, if not the first match, but certainly the yachts that competed in the first match that are around. The daguerreotypes, I know that they require they can deteriorate quite badly, those early photographs, and a lot of effort's been made by libraries and institutions around the world to try and preserve as many of them as possible. Some of them have already been lost due to the chemical process. I believe they developed them on tin originally, and
silver, I think, but yes.
Yeah, using silver on tin, but they did deteriorate over time. And indeed, even in my own family albums, we have some very early photographs of that type, which have just about been lost now, unfortunately, due to chemical composition.
Well, it was very quickly discovered how badly and how quickly they deteriorated in that original Derrick type process. And then they went to another salt paper type process that worked better. And then on and on and on, and the black and white era, the color era, and now the digital era, of course. Hamish, I have a suggestion. Apropos, this is also World Photography Day, which is what we're celebrating. But on this day in history was when the French government, I think that's why today is World Photography Day, because this is the day apparently in 1830-something. We'll get to that. 37 or 8, when the French government gave this as a gift to the world, this daguerreotype.
Yeah.
So I have a suggestion. I have gone to find one of my favorite pictures of all time. Of course, it is from the America's Cup. That's the AC match off Frio in Western Australia in 1987 between Stars and Stripes and Kookaburra. And I thought, Hamish, it might be nice if we asked everybody, Julia, if we asked all the FOSI to send us their favorite yachting photograph of all time in celebration of this. This is kind of World Photography Day and week.
Yeah.
And we could, I suppose, Hamish, I suppose we could, extend it. But I think Friday, we could do this on Friday. Okay. If everybody watching sends us, and this is mine, to be sure. This is a Guy Gurney photo. It is my favorite photo, and bravo Zulu to Guy for giving us that photo. And if everybody would send us, and we'll see how many we get. If I only get a couple, 3, maybe we won't do it this Friday. We'll delay it and do it next week. But let's see how many photos we get. I'll put it on my Facebook page. And everybody send us their favorite photo, yacht racing photo of all time. Not yachting, not cruising, not sunsets, not fishing. Yacht racing photo, their favorite photo of all time. Hamish, what would yours be?
Mine's hanging on the wall at home, and I'll be definitely submitting mine for the competition, that's for sure. And it will feature a gaff rig yacht.
Is it a yacht racing photo?
Of course.
It's not the one behind you there.
No, it's not that one. It's far more spectacular than that one.
Far more spectacular. Julia, what's yours?
I don't have one at the moment.
You better find one.
Yeah.
Is that a good idea, or is that not worth the effort? Let's see what everybody sends in.
Let's find out.
Right?
You got to be good.
That's a great idea, Tom.
Yep.
Thank you. That's what I needed. My ego is, so crushed daily just putting this show together.
Poor
and
thing.
Julia comes down here and starts, just a little bit, half an hour or so before the show, and further crushes my ego because she knows what's going on and I don't. I'm so thin-skinned, Hamish, so insecure. You know the drill.
Hey, now you're beginning to sound like the guy on 1 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Before we get to Hamish's segment, which is up next, let's go check in. There it is, and I should tell you too, Julia. Hamish said that photo makes me look too young. That's from too long ago. I said, hey, he sent me another one, which we used. Mm-hmm. We used that photo in the last time. No, we didn't. We used that the time before. Hamish comes on roughly every 70 shows. I looked today. The last time you were on was, I think, December, and you sent me the picture that you sent me last night or again this morning of you, and you're off fishing someplace in a nice polo shirt, and you're looking very relaxed, and there's some nice background. But this is an America's Cup segment today, Hamish. That's here from San Francisco, and isn't it 2013?
That's right. That was just outside the wharf where the yachts were moored.
Mm-hmm.
So what's wrong with that photo? Apropos this, you still look like that.
Yeah, it's good.
I was just trying to be nice and honest about it. That was all.
Okay, let's go to the comments. Claire Harrington is on. She's saying hello from terra firma. She was flying this morning. She's had a full day. She first went to the gun range, to the shooting range, to practice her shooting. She's a big marksman.
I know.
She probably prefer marksman. And, she could be a tough Commodore. You don't want to get in her way. You don't want to get in her way.
Just
she goes to the shooting. She goes to the shooting range and practices.
Yeah.
And then she went flying someplace. Mm-hmm. And now she's got a big dinner tonight. She is something else, but a breath of fresh air at the New York Yacht Club. Peter Taylor, thank you to you and to Larry Kennedy for helping us out with those names. And Greg Phillips, of course, on the Gold Coast of Oz, Dogzilla Monster. I know what picture he'll send. He'll send something like that picture behind me, Julie. He loves that painting. He'll send me a picture of the Trimaran, which is, of course, Hamish's favorite boat of all time, right, Hamish?
Yeah, we could turn these photographs into the Sailing Illustrated calendar, couldn't we?
We're not that good.
Sailing porn.
I'm not that good. Who else is on? I'm not even going to read all these names. There's so many people. Clark Chapin, Alistair Murray, Rick Bannerow. Rick would send our studio is adorned by his photos. You see up here, those are Rick's photos.
Right.
Many of you will know. And on the door behind you, Julia, those are Rick's photos as well. It's a great sport, and it's very photogenic. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm. Yachties are hotties.
Yachties are hotties, as Alistair would say. Andrew Pindar, hello from Holland. He's in the Netherlands, where the organizers of Sail Amsterdam are expecting over 1 million visitors tomorrow. Puts things into a bit of perspective.
Wow.
John Emmett likes it when we have guests. I agree. I do too. It's just a lot more work for me, and I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy to bring guests in every show because it's a lot of work. Hamish is not. Hamish is a piece of work, but he's not a lot of work. Baton Rouge, Addie Fisher is Greg and Joanne Fisher's daughter. I did not know that. And she was sailing with Morgan Pinkney at somewhere, Gulf Cup maybe. The TP52 racing is entertaining to watch. Ed Worley says, totally agree.
Yeah, I do too.
That's a great series. Box rule, not OD. What were we talking about, Andrew? They're back. I hope that's a comment, not something I said. Back and forth too. And we have a one here is about Andrew McIrvin, by the way.
Uh-oh.
Pedro Foiling Sailor, I'm crushed, Tom. It's not for you to put yourself down for others. It's for others to do. Look at all these comments. Larry Kennedy, thanks again to you. Claire is packing heat. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
And apparently she's a pretty good shot. She does a lot of clay pigeon shooting in the fall and maybe more than that. Josh Toso. Hello, Josh, former manager. a marketing manager, I should say, at U.S. Sailing. My favorite photo includes no sailboats and no people. We'll dig it up for the submission. No, we want yacht racing photos, Josh. Send your favorite yacht racing photo. And John K.M. Henry, I wonder who that is. I wonder if that's John Marshall. We'll have to get some photos from Margarita Marshall. I wonder if John K.M., because his John K. Marshall, Hamish, it's John K. Marshall, and I wonder if Henry is just some Facebook account that he's got.
John Knox. It's John Knox Marshall.
Is that his middle name, Knox?
Yeah, Knox. Yes.
Knox. Phil Yeomans. Keelapa with all the washing out. Oh, Kilo, I think he means with all the washing out going to Hobart. Yeah, or to, exactly. That is a favorite photo as well. Okay, let's get to our feature today. Dr. Hamish Ross, who is down in Auckland, and we appreciate him coming on yet again. We had the AC38 Protocol was released last week. It was signed, finally, delayed, but finally signed down at your former yacht club. You're no longer a member of that club, are you, Hamish?
No, I resigned probably about a couple of years ago, roughly around the time that they sent the America's Cup defence offshore, and I was not alone in that resignation, and I'm very sorry to part companies with the club, but I felt it was necessary to resign. And indeed, I believe that you were in a similar position, Tom, when it left San Francisco.
Yeah, I resigned from Golden Gate when they let Russell and Larry take the event to Bermuda. I was Vice Commodore, in fact. But that was not, in my view, correct. I know Jim Farmer, our very good mutual friend, what is he? He's the King's Counsel now. He's not a Queen's Counsel, King's Counsel, very senior attorney in your country. And a number of other people resigned from the squadron. And I was talking to some of the kids who were at Gov Cup, and they say that the squadron, Hamish, has got, Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, has got real financial problems. And they've had to look for their match racing support. The club still supports them, bless their hearts. But apparently they've got a world of hurt financially. Is that true?
I'm sorry to hear that if that is the case. I don't wish that on any yacht club. And I know life is difficult for all sports clubs right now in this post-COVID world. And my view is that we seem to be going through some societal change, and certainly in our country, and I see it replicated in many others, that people just seem to be less community-minded than they perhaps were beforehand. It's sad if that's the case, and clubs need to put their heads together and figure out what they can do to make themselves attractive again. I don't have the formula for it.
Yeah, well, worldwide, part of the problem is that we've got, at least in this country, and I think beyond, we've got the boomer generation, the post-World War II generation, and that big bulge in the population. And now a lot of us, I mean, I'm from a family of 5. You just go right through the list. Hamish, you had 2 kids. I've got 1 kid. And, you know, a lot of people you go around had no kids or 1 kid compared to the families back 30, 40, 50 years ago had 3, 4, 5 kids.
I had none. You
had none. So there's just fewer kids around, which I guess is part of the problem.
I think partly it's financially generated as well. I think the younger generations often are saddled with student debt in the way that I certainly wasn't. And they have a lot more demands on their wallets. And it's fairly hard for them, I think, to have spare cash to invest in what seems to be ever increasing cost of the sport.
That's part of the theme today of John Emmett's Coaching Corner report, which will run right after this segment with Hamish. Hamish is on a bit of a time constraint, so let's get into it. Just to say that John K.M. Henry, it really is John Henry, and apparently John K. Marshall, John Knox Marshall, is his uncle. So it's nice to have a new name here in the chat, John K.M. Henry. And of course, he knows John K. Marshall's wife, Margarita Marshall, for Margarita Bottini Marshall, whom I've known since forever as well.
It's a small, small world.
Russell Miller, there will be many more 40-year-olds in the market as the millennials mature. Is that Russell Miller, the esteemed general manager of the Balboa Yacht Club, do we suppose? If so, that's great news to see Russell on here as well.
Right.
Hamish, there's the famous photo. That's the Sue Ellen hurling photo from last week, and I see they put that poster up, keep calm and keep drinking the Kool-Aid, last week when the AC38 was signed at the RNZ. Is that true? Have you been in the club to see if that poster is up?
No, I've not, and I'll be very surprised if it is.
One hears that that is not true. That is a good photoshopping job by somebody here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, Julie, who prepared that slide. Hamish, the protocol is out. You've read it. I've read it. However, do we have a class rule yet, which was promised on Friday? I know the term sheet is out, but I haven't been able to get the term sheet, which you and I used to call the commercial rules. And I haven't seen the commercial rule. Have you? The so-called term sheet?
No, I've not seen, and that's the part that hasn't been publicly released. Indeed, even if the class rule has been publicly released, I've not seen it. And as I have commented previously, this protocol really is only half a protocol, essentially, because this new partnership arrangement that's been discussed in the protocol. Don't get me wrong. I think this concept of a partnership agreement is a very, very good one. The devil, of course, is going to be in the detail, and there's a suggestion that it won't be made public, which is a bit unfortunate because I do think it needs to be made public, and people can see how the America's Cup is being put together. We don't have to see all the fine detail, but it'd be nice to see and understand how the America's Cup is going to be governed in the future. I've got to say at the outset, as you would agree, I think, Tom, being a defender is a tough gig, and it is hard work. You've won the cup, and you have to defend the cup, but on top of that, you've suddenly become responsible for organising the next America's Cup, and it's not an easy thing to do, and it's certainly impossible to keep everybody happy, and it is hard work. It's an extra burden on the defender, and I just like to recognise that. At the outset, it doesn't mean everything they do is necessarily correct or in accordance with the best interests of the sport, but I do feel that for the defender who has this extra responsibility, I must say that I generally take a wider view of the sport, and I sort of ask myself, is this protocol enhancing the America's Cup? Or is it merely ticking a few boxes and getting on with the show? And I do have a number of concerns in a wider sense, I guess. And probably the biggest one is the descent, if you like, into ever more technology at the expense of the human element of sailing. And we've been heading down this route for a number of cycles now. And it does concern me when I see a provision in this protocol to say that you can't use manual power. Everything has to be run by batteries, and I just think that just rips the guts out of the sport. To be honest, it's supposed to be a human activity, not a computer-driven or AI activity, which it appears to be descending into. And I do wonder what these people on the boat are going to be doing if we have self-controlled vessels, and are they just simply pin-ups for media consumption? And that is a concern I have, and I don't think it's really in the best interest of the sport long term. I think, I certainly, and I know a number of my colleagues, miss the action we see of what I call real sailors on the boat, trimming sails, hoisting sails, recovering sails, and just the physical activity that you see on, for example, the TP52, which we see the series at the moment. I mean, you just compare the action of a segment of that compared to a segment of the America's Cup. And I'm sorry, but at a human level, the America's Cup kind of just leaves us cold compared to that really thrilling and that really emotional part that we can connect with real sailors on what many people call real sailboats.
Hamish.
Yep.
You're getting criticized in the chat. Don't sugarcoat it for us, Hamish. Give it to us straight. We can take it. Clayton Embley. True that. It has become technology sailing, not technical sailing. Alan Long. So true, Hamish. Hamish, I've already done at least 2 rants on this topic. Even Julia is not amused. There are 1 or 2 people that I know who think the whole push button, the only human input to the whole system under this latest protocol is steering. And then we are afraid that the steering is then going to go into a computer, which is then going to control the surfaces on some basis. So this is an abomination, right?
Well, I agree, and
there, we got it out of him, Julia. See, we got it.
Yay!
Now you can give him some applause. I mean, come on, we can give him the applause. We got it out of it. Okay, Hamish, I'm sorry.
Well, if we treat the America's Cup as we've done in the past as the blue ribbon event of our sport, then I'm afraid it seems to be running off piste here, and it's obviously going to take another defender perhaps to realign it, but when it's obviously not going to happen in the next few years, and we can only look to the future at some point when a new defender emerges. And it does seem to me that we're just taking the sport away from the human element out of the sport, and I do worry for it, and I do worry the impact it has on our sport generally. Well,
as Russell Miller knows, as I said, I mentioned him, and he's come back and confirmed he is in fact the general manager of Balboa Yacht Club, and that is such a fine club. I'm biased in part because I'm a member now for a decade or so, but we run the Gov Cup down there, and his staff that he leads and everybody on the volunteer side. And Russell has heard Andy Rose and even the kids, because Andy at those Gov Cup sessions will ask the kids, show of hands or otherwise, what do you think? And they all say the sport is too technologically oriented. They all say, I wish we could have boats in the America's Cup, the pinnacle event of our sport, that you see people doing regular sailing work. Say, as you just said, Hamish, sails going up and down, people moving across the boat, people hiking out, people putting spinnaker poles up or at least hoisting an A sail up. And we've lost all that for what? If it were somehow bringing in millions, if it were even bringing in thousands more views, and as best I can tell, Hamish, it's not. It's quite the opposite. What's happening is that we're turning off the core audience, the yacht club crowd, the yachties, as you and the Aussies would call them, the true core audience for our beloved sport. I go over to I've said this before on the show, Julia, I go over to St. Francis,
right,
and your friends at the bar, and they're all still there, by the way. Okay. Some have died off. You outlived a lot of them.
Oh, I'm working on it.
Your friends at the bar say, what's going on in the America's Cup? I said, you're not paying attention. They say, nah, forget about it. We don't want to talk about it anyway. We don't care.
Yeah.
And the kids don't care. Hamish, is there any chance that's going to get fixed short of the Kiwis losing the next Cup?
Look, I don't think so, to be honest. It's clear the defender sees it's got an advantage in this area in terms of development. And this protocol's been written with the first primary objective of winning the next America's Cup. I mean, it's clear from the protocol that is their number one and primary objective. The other considerations of getting some challenges and trying to sort of pad it out with other events is supplementary to that prime protocol. And that's a problem with where you have, in many ways, a defender setting the rules. Now, America's Cup has always been like that, and I don't doubt that, but there is always a better balance, in my opinion. I can't see the current regime changing with the way the Cup's administered and the technology in the Cup. I think for them to give it away they would see it as too much of a risk for their ability to win it in the future. I would dearly love to see them toss out this class, bring in something like the TP52. You'd get, tell me what, 25, 35 challenges. You would have one hell of a series, and it wouldn't cost everybody. I mean, the entry fee of €7 million. I mean, you do the whole campaign in that and have
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's got far too expensive, too cumbersome. And we're down to, let's face it, how many challenges are we going to get? I mean, the challenges series is open now. You can enter now. You can enter as of yesterday, and I know it's too early, but I don't believe there's going to be a stampede of entries, to be honest. I mean, for sure, Lina Ross is going to be in there. That's almost a given. And so you've got the challenger, the defender, Lina Rossa, and maybe, look, you might get another one. So my pick is somewhere between 4 and 5 competitors all up, which still is well below half of what we had in Valencia and half of what we had in many America's Cups previously. And that's sad. That's an indictment on the management and the putting together of the event. I think you can judge it by the number of entries that you get. And when you have a 300% plus lift in the entry fee, this time round, you've got to ask yourself to say, well, okay, what are you expecting here? Clearly, they're expecting far fewer entries, and they've had to lift the fee to be commensurate to make sure they do get some funds in. So they're clearly not expecting a lot of entries when you're lifting the entry fee by 300% plus.
Julia, you wanted to get something in here.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I hear most everybody saying why this isn't exciting. My question is, who are the great spirit warriors behind the mechanical cup?
This current version of the cup.
Yeah.
Well, it's Grant Dalton, isn't it? Who else is behind that? And he thinks that's best for his team and increases his chances of winning, full stop.
But who else is in favor of it?
Hamish?
Well, clearly the Challenger Records signed off on it. So, they've obviously believed that they've got a fighting chance with this technology. And, I guess you've got a number of existing teams who are now familiar with it, but their ability to catch up to where the defender is severely circumcised. I mean, you've got a ban on sailing two boats. You've got a ban on any sailing time for quite long periods of time. Now, this is all brought together under the guise of cost reduction, which it is. There's achieved some cost savings. But having said that, it really makes it tough for a team to catch up. And if you can't sail a boat, you can't build new boats, and you can't do a lot of things that you would otherwise do to try and catch up and bridge that gap. It just makes it a much harder proposition than it needs to be.
Well, that's the other. Now you've touched on what is a bugaboo for me and a lot of other people. Bugaboo's that sounds like too childish a word. But it's the idea that you are, for the first time, prohibiting, in effect, there is a loophole to build one new boat if you can't get your old boat. And that's to help Sir Ben in case he can't get his boats from Sir Wanks-a-Lot, I guess, or Ratcliffe. Why do you laugh, Julia? That's what he's widely called.
Oh.
In the British circles. Oh, come on. Right, Hamish?
I couldn't possibly comment. I don't know that.
Thank you, Hamish.
You're Scottish. I know you're not English. But having said that, for the first time, there is a prohibition about building a new boat. And you heard Grant Dalton and Ben Ainslie say in that press conference that actually Richard Gladwell is the only one that's done really good journalism on this. I compliment him again. And I talked to him, I texted with him at some length last night again on all this. But they are saying, oh, the hulls don't make any difference. Well, if that's true, then and it's not true. We all know that's not true, but it still makes us even less of a quote unquote sailing competition. And this whole thing is becoming a farce. It's becoming ridiculous in the extreme. Hamish, can we change the topics? Because we don't have any disagreement there. I will disagree mildly with you, and that is to say, running the regatta, which I've done a couple times, as you know, is not that difficult. New York Yacht Club used to have it was a different era, I get that, but they had a lady who was the wife of, a long time ago in Newport, she was the wife of the harbor master. She had a little office in a container, and she was the kind of the secretary of the regatta. And they, in the late 70s, early 80s, they got a few sponsors for the regatta, but basically you had a race committee, which was a volunteer race committee, and they went out and ran the match. And then Bruno and the Challengers came along, and they had Ida Lewis Yacht Club helping them run the Challenger Selection Series before it became the Louis Vuitton Cup in 1983. Then LV injected some money, and you could bring in judges and jury and have a fancier party, but still you ran a few races. And that it didn't cost a lot of money to go to Frio, to the 87 Cup, and that was the high water mark, as you well know. 17 teams, 13 challengers, 4 defenders. We had good turns out after that in San Diego. We had a good turnout in Auckland at both events in 2003. We had a good turnout in San Francisco. We had a fairly good turnout in Bermuda even. You had a great event, and I was your challenger of record. You were the defender working with Alinghi and SNG, Société Nautique Genève. What do we have, 11 teams, 12 teams in Valencia 07? Roundabout,
Yes.
give or take a dozen teams. So this is not magical. And okay, it is at its heart a one-on-one event, a defender and a challenger, and the extra teams are not quite icing on the cake. But if we're trying to promote our sport and promote the America's Cup, having more teams brings more eyeballs from more countries, brings more medias, more sponsor from more countries, and that's the thing that builds up the event. Team.
Well, I'll remind you, Tom, when we put together that Valencia America's Cup, we had no entry fee.
Correct.
Yes, you had to pay a performance bond, which you got back again, but there was no entry fee for AC32.
Moreover, you and Ernesto and the Michels, Bonfou and Michel, what was the other guy's name? Hodara, who was the COO. Michel Bonfou was the COO. They were separate from the team. They ran the event. Dyer Jones was the regatta director, and Alinghi was a team, just another team. And then you insisted that we form the Challenger Commission, and we went off and we formed the Challenger Commission, and the Challenger Commission worked, right?
I think that was an example of someone cutting their own cane in which you were beaten with.
The Challenger Commission, which we went off and we met, and then I was the initial head and then did it for a year, and then George Clyde did it for a year, and then Alessandra Ponderese, who's over here, she did it for a year with the Italians, and that was a good concept. The challenges were all politically represented, and it worked. And you, Alinghi, returned money to all the teams. You made a profit, right, and it didn't go into Ernesto's pocket. It didn't go into the team budget. You had your own sponsors and own budget, but you returned a good chunk of the money that was made from the venue fee, from the television fee, from the sponsors of the event itself. The further you got in the Challenger Selection Series, the more money you got back from the organizers. And if you were the
Challenger in Valencia got a dividend check for around 10 million euro.
Exactly, and that was the Kiwis, right? And then if you got to the finals of the LV Cup, or the Louis Vuitton Cup, you got a chunk, and if you got, it was right on down to the bottom team, Socioloza and Plus 39, got several $100,000.
No, I think they got I think that roughly the bottom dividend was around €1 million.
Did they get that much? I didn't remember they got that much, but nonetheless, that whole system worked. Everybody got around the table. And you all, meaning you and Ernesto and the Michels, led and Dyer Jones and ran a good event. There's no reason why we can't do that again. Now
none whatsoever. And I think that is clearly the future of the Cup. That is exactly what needs to happen. But as I mentioned before, the detail is going to be extremely important in how that comes together, and it's got to attract the likes of Ernesto Bertorelli or Doug DeVos or many of the other billionaires to come back in thinking, hey, this is something I can support. It's worthwhile. I'm given a voice here. I can help develop this sport, which I dearly love. And it doesn't treat them merely as a commodity where here's a €7 million check. Thank you very much. We'll see you on the start line.
Well, and let's do the math. We've lost Ellison, who's arguably now, in fact, there's a couple reports out in this country, Julie, as you know, this week saying he's the most powerful man in the U.S., second richest guy in the world. He's got the ear of the current president, Trump. He's very involved in lots of different things, good friends of Elon Musk, yada, yada, yada. We've lost him he's gone off, frustrated by the America's Cup, to go do Sail GP, but we'll discount him. It looks like we've lost Alinghi and Ernesto Bertorelli for the next Cup. It looks like we've lost Jim Ratcliffe. We have lost Jim Ratcliffe. And it looks like we're losing, if not have already lost, Doug DeVos out of the Cup. And you get these guys in, and we know that Patrizio Bertelli has health problems. He's stuck it out, bless his heart. But let's talk about this commercial issue now, because this is the other thing, Hamish, that's got a lot of people's cojones in an uproar, is this so-called term sheet, which is not, according to definitions online. A term sheet is a non-binding agreement outlining the basic terms and conditions under which an investment will be made, typically in a startup. It includes financial and managerial aspects, with some elements potentially binding. And this is this new secret document that I'll get a copy of it sooner or later. Mark my words. So the idea that they're going to try to keep it secret is crazy. They won't be able to keep it secret. But this term sheet is only the basis for a deal which is supposed to be agreed, Hamish, by the 9th of September, which is, coming right up here in another,
20 odd days.
20 days. And
and look, and if they don't agree anything, if they don't reach an agreement on the term sheet, and even if they allow themselves additional time, this protocol we're talking about is declared to be void.
It's null and void, right?
Then? So what happens then? Do we have an America's Cup in 27? What's it going to look like, and what sort of shape is it going to be in?
Well, they've given themselves, as you know, in the protocol, the ability to extend that deadline by mutual consent, which no doubt they will do. But this thing is by no means, as you've said, as Ed Worley has said, as Mark Hammond and others who are keen observers of the passing scene have all said, this is not a done deal. And you said a minute ago, the devil is in the details. You can talk about a term sheet, which isn't even a contract. And apparently the draft, as Richard Gladwell has reported, runs to hundreds of pages. And to try to get anything agreed that is in the time remaining, which is so complex and which a lot of people already in principle don't agree with, the so-called America's Cup partnership. And then you and I both know that it is not deed compliant. The idea that this partnership can name future venues, that they can commit future trustees to live within this thing is completely nuts, isn't it?
You've touched on a couple of things here. Before we move to the deed and that part, I mean, not only do they have to agree a term sheet, but they have to sell the term sheet. They have to sell the term sheet to potential challengers, because without investors, if you like, without the competitor investors, what if you don't really have a partnership? And so it's going to be critically important that they come up with a term sheet that is attractive to potential competitors and indeed existing competitors. So there's a lot to be achieved here with this term sheet. And I would argue that, hey, anyone can come up with a term sheet. You've got to sell it. It's got to be saleable.
Exactly.
And that's saleable, that and I.
Shall we turn to the deed of gift?
Well, there has been a suggestion.
Let me start, if I may. Hang on, Hamish. Let me start, if you're ready to go to that. I just wanted to be sure. Was there anything else you want to talk about before we go to the deed of gift? Because
not really. I mean, there's a lot to this protocol. A lot of it is fairly standard stuff that you and I probably kicked off way back in 2001, 2003. Sorry, go back to 2003 and 4. A lot of this stuff has been either development of that or indeed sometimes the exact wording that we came up with. Things like the programs, a common wind program, that all makes sense. Why would you have half a dozen boats out on the water measuring the same piece of water in terms of wind strength and wave action? You may as well just consolidate that. Look, there is some good stuff in here, and the idea of developing the television part of it is all good stuff, and there is, as I say, many of the media commercial aspects are stuff which has been carried over and has worked, which is great.
Exactly.
That's good.
But let's talk about the deed and what you wrote on your Facebook page, and I posted to this show last Friday. I say yesterday, this was last Thursday. I think you wrote this, and I ran it on Friday's show. Let's be clear, you said, the deed is not for changing. The only legal basis to make changes is if the deed becomes impossible or impracticable to perform. We are miles away from this. We have a trustee and a defender who have agreed on a match. Proof enough that the deed is working and is not broken nor impossible to perform. And you're talking from the basis of New York deed and trust law, I know. Leave the future trustees and challengers to work out their own match terms in their own future contemporary environment. The deed has worked for 155 years and is the reason why the America's Cup competition has lasted while so many other trophies and competitions have been lost during that time. If you want a different competition or rules, go buy another trophy. Just don't hijack the America's Cup. SailGP did so, and now arguably it is beginning to eclipse the America's Cup through both smarter management and lamentable guardian on the side of SailGP and lamentable guardianship on the side of the Cup on the other. Hamish.
Yeah, well, I mean, that pretty much sums up my view on it. I mean, the deed of gift really is not for changing. Why would you allow for all time a structure that may be desirable today, that may be completely cumbersome in a future environment we don't understand or aware of? I mean, that's the beauty of what George Schuyler wrote back in his last effort in 1887. And even going back to the first draft from 1852, they allowed the two competitors to have the freedom to reach the terms of their match. And why wouldn't you? Why would you lock them in chains with some kind of a cumbersome system? All you're doing is risking the whole cup from being, as Schuyler once wrote, being left on the shelf as family plate. It's nuts to think that you can change this deed of gift to suit what you need to do. Hey, let's face it, if this partnership agreement works and everyone's happy, it's going to be carried over. It's either going to work, in which case people are going to grasp it and run with it, or it's not going to work and they'll make changes or they'll get rid of the whole idea. I mean, look at many things we've had in the America's Cup. I mean, in San Diego, you came up with the, I think it was called the Trustees Committee with representatives from former trustees of the America's Cup.
Yep.
That got swept aside when it came to New Zealand. Hey, that was a development. Idea of...
Then you put the R panel in, which was very similar.
Yeah, exactly. So the R panel gets put in and we still have that, but that can be tweaked. We had a 5-member R panel and then we're down to 3 again. It still works. It's still effective. You've got to allow the future to run the event that works in a manner that befits the future. It's important that we give the future the freedom. And it ain't broke, doesn't need a fix. Just because it's your vision doesn't make it mean it's going to be right for all time.
Well, I told you I'll keep you only for an hour. I know you've got other things to do. The good, bad, and the ugly, is there anything else you really wanted to touch on? Because I don't think the deed of gifts is going to get amended. I don't think New York Yacht Club's going to stand for it. I don't think the courts in New York will stand for it. I don't think former trustees are going to stand for it. So I'm not too worried about that. But if by some arrangement like this America's Cup partnership works, as you said, Hamish, okay, we've had other things we've tried. One thing for sure is that, and I keep getting calls about this now from various parties, as you can imagine, Hamish, but one thing for sure is that what was attempted by San Diego to lock everything down going forward did not work. What was attempted by Russell and Larry to lock everything down in Bermuda going forward did not work. And this attempt by Grant Dalton to try to lock everything down going forward is also, in my never so humble opinion, is not going to work.
Well, I agree. And I don't think it's desirable. Look, I applaud any attempt that can drag the America's Cup back up to where it was a decade or so ago. And I believe it's possible. I believe with right-minded people and the right sort of determination, it can be returned back to the blue ribbon event of our sport. And it requires a number of key decisions to be made and people to have the bravery and the confidence in their own skills and ability and resources to be able to win such a regatta. I mean, people have compared, for example, and I'm loath to use this as an example, but I'm going to, the Lord of the Rings example, the power of the ring just clouding people's judgment. I've got to win and I've got to retain this thing against all odds. And I'm afraid, as a defender, you're going to lose the cup, okay? You're going to lose it. At some point in time, you are going to lose the cup. What matters is that you leave the cup in, hopefully, and this should be your goal, in a better condition than which you inherited it. And that should be your primary objective. It should be enhancing the sport. It should be enhancing the cup. And you're passing that cup on to a deserving new defender in a better state than what you left it.
Well said.
That is the measure of a success of a defender, of a trustee.
And let's go through the list, because that is I think it's a very good point. New York left the cup in much better shape than they found it when they won it. And of course, they held it for 132 years, but then they relaxed some of the rules. They allowed multiple challengers in 1970. The Louis Vuitton came in, multiple challenger selection series. Fantastic. The Aussies left the cup better than they found it. They had a high water mark. They were more interested in running the regatta than defending the cup, arguably. A lot of us would say it was one of the worst managed defenses in the history of the world. But they did it, and it was a great event. And then same for San Diego. It was a good event. 88 was not a good event. It was a horrible event, but that wasn't solely San Diego's fault. In fact, I would argue it wasn't San Diego's fault at all. But nonetheless, it takes two to tango.
Explain why.
Pardon?
Explain why.
Well, because first of all, Michael Fay was upset that San Diego was dithering. Then our good mutual friend Hamish, our good mutual friend Carrot Top, Andrew Johns, give him my warmest regards when you see him. I'm serious.
I'll do so.
And Michael Fay and I become quite good friends since all that 88 madness. But suffice to say, both sides, Julia, Michael Fay thought San Diego was dithering. San Diego was surprised by Michael Fay's challenge, one-on-one challenge. And we said, by then I was involved, we said, well, two can play at this game. And if you want to do one-on-one, we'll do a one-on-one and we'll beat you one way or another. And Dennis came up with the Catamarans. John K. Marshall came up with the wing, and we did win. And it was the Coma off Point Loma. But having said that.
But the point of that story is that there was a lot behind it.
Well, there was, but 92 was a better event. 95 was a better event. And the challengers got together and did their thing in both those regattas. The television was a high point in 95, thanks to the challengers who actually ran the TV for everybody in 95. That's not the way it works now. And the events in Auckland in 2000, 2003 were better events than ever. Mm-hmm. We had independent regatta directors. We had race management. We had a whole country was all fired up about it. And we've already talked about 07 and SNG, what they did. 2010 was an aberration again, takes two to tango. And, here, 13, it started to go downhill, frankly. The whole thing with the big catamarans and Russell's penchant for trying to get hyper-technical and super fast and foiling, and then the boats ended up foiling. We didn't know they would. That wasn't the plan. And then on to Bermuda with smaller boats that foiled, and then it's kind of gone downhill from there, frankly. But Hamish, anything else, good, bad, or ugly? Before we, I have one final big question for you. After you're done with the last.
No, there's lots of detail. I just wanted to come on and talk about the very broad concepts and broad themes coming through. I mean, I don't want to get into the chaff of the protocol and various points and drafting and things. It'll bore everybody to tears. But what's your final question, Tom?
The final question comes from Peter Stevenson down in Australia. Speaking of protocol, he's saying, I'm getting back into the dating scene. What's the protocol these days? Is it him or me who texts first during dinner? A big protocol question, Hamish.
Well, you touched on the fact that New York introduced the Challenger Series into the America's Cup, and as we know, that was back in 1970, and the first race was between Gretel 2 and France. And today, the 20th of August, is the anniversary of that very first Challenger Series race.
Aha!
Today is the 20th down under.
It is.
So that's where it's the 20th there, and it's the 19th here. We would have celebrated that, and of course, we all know that this Friday is the anniversary of AC0, of that fateful day when the America's Cup was awarded to the Yacht, or the then 100-pound cup was awarded to the Yacht America. There's a good picture of a painting of the 100-pound cup, which in those days, that original cup was only that tall, and it's had a couple bases added to it since then, as probably everybody on here knows. Hamish?
Well, it's only 55 years of Challenger Series. That's all we've had in the 155-year history of the racing for the Cup.
And it didn't take a change to the deed of gift. The only change to the deed of gift was the own bottom rule, right? And that was 56.
Yes.
And then the Southern Hemisphere rule.
The Southern Hemisphere rule, which, it's arguable whether it was needed or not. The change was made. And there was an interpretation as well involving the Chicago Yacht Club.
Yeah, but that wasn't that was I was not in the courtroom, but I was following it closely. And Harmon Hawkins, who was representing Chicago Yacht Club, I spent a lot of time with him before and after that. Basically, the judge said, "Does anybody here object to Chicago Yacht Club coming in as a challenger?" And everybody said in the courtroom said, "No, we want them to come in." He said, "Well, don't bother me. Stop bothering me here." I
tell you, Tom, you touched on the own bottom rule and the amendments made back in 1956, if memory serves me right, to the deed of gift. Interesting enough, if you look at the court's order, the words that were deleted from the America's Cup remain in the America's Cup. The court did not say the words are hereby deleted. The court said the cup would be administered as if these words do not exist, or
that's
be administered in this way. So these words about having to sail to their own bottom officially remain in the terms of the deed of gift, even though they're not enforced. And of course, the order, if I want to be a little cunning lawyer here, is that the order is only restricted to the New York Yacht Club administering the deed of gift. So I raise with you a humorous aside here. Maybe the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron can say, "Well, I'm sorry, that order only applied to the New York Yacht Club, and you guys are going to have to sail to Auckland or to Naples."
Hamish, final question. What are your kids up to?
Angus and Fergus, my sons. Angus is the older one. Angus is a lawyer working for the British government in London at the moment. And his younger son is also a lawyer working for a law firm in London at the moment. So they're both on what we call in New Zealand their OE, their overseas experience. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that they will come and make their future back in this part of the world in a few years' time.
And who's the bass guitar player?
Oh, that's the young one, Fergus. He's even had his own art exhibition. So he's a lawyer. He's run his own art exhibition the last weekend in London. Wow. He's a true Renaissance man.
When we were neighbors in Valencia, I was over at Hamish's one day having a glass of vino tinto, I think, Hamish talking. And we were, on the opposite sides. I think we were in the big fight by then, weren't we? But we still... not
quite, but we're always in a fight, Tom.
But we were always good friends regardless. And it was Fergus?
Yes.
Fergus had a guitar and he was just trying to learn to play it. And I picked it up and played a couple of ditties. And then did I teach him to play the bass guitar or did he learn that on his own? How did that work out?
No, you guys had a bit of a session together. It was it was great. He still talks about that, actually.
Well,
Tom, is that the guy with the bass guitar?
Well, that's what the Cup's all about. At the end of the day, it's about friendly competition between foreign countries. I've got, as I'm sure you do, Hamish, and Julia followed the Cup around as well for St. Francis Yacht Club. I have so many friends around the world. Your kids have had an international experience because of the Cup. They went to school in Spain, and our kid, my daughter Meg, only went to school in Europe and got around because of the Cup and those people from the Cup. And we can talk about Aussies who are still living in Newport, Rhode Island since the 70s and 80s, and Americans who are still living in New Zealand since the Cups in 2000, 2003, and friends all over the world, thanks to the America's Cup. May it last forever.
Indeed.
The Cup has enriched many hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of lives, and it's certainly enriched my family, and in the sense of culturally and friends they've made, international friends that they've made. I'm constantly surprised about my son's language abilities and their friends in Spain and throughout Europe and elsewhere. It's an enriching experience, and you and I have devoted decades of our time to the Cup. And we love it. We care for it. And that's why we comment, and it's why we wish it well in the future. And it's why we want it to be better than it is.
Well said. Couldn't have said it that well myself, but then that's usually the case with both you and Julia. You being a doctor of laws and Julia having gone to Stanford, you're both so smart, and that's why I love having you both on the show regularly.
Thank you, Tom. It's been a pleasure.
Hamish, thank you. Get on with your day. What time is it down there now? 9 in the morning, 9:10 in the morning?
Yeah, it's 09, just after 0900. So I've got to go and do a day's work.
Okay, I'll do that, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Tuned in.
It's always a pleasure, isn't it?
Oh,
Julia?
I love him. Yeah, I know.
You love all those Kiwis, Aussies, Brits. You're something else, Julia. Now, your scarf has been getting a lot of admiration.
Yes.
Speaking of Brits, did you see all the comments from?
Yeah, I actually hadn't thought about it, but this is a St. Francis Yacht Club scarf
From Tinsley Island. Andrew McIrvin, who's been there a couple times as a guest of the club. I had him there last year.
But there are lots of things on here that they're all things. This is the Tinsley Lighthouse, and this is.
How many scarves do you have like that?
Well, they're all.
How many scarves do you have like that? Order of magnitude. Do you have 5? Do you have 500?
that are St. Francis scarves?
No, scarves, yachting scarves.
Oh, I don't know. Yachting scarves, not so maybe 20, but this has become a project of the wife and of the Commodore.
Yeah,
and they're designed. Each one is different, and it's designed by a member, and just sold to membership, and it does break even. I don't think it's a great money raiser, but it doesn't cost money in the end. And there have been some great scarves.
Okay, well, John Emmett has been taking issue with some of the things we're saying, being the progressive that he is. And he's saying it would be good to get some young sailors on who are involved in the current AC. Well, I will do that, John. That's a good idea. I, like everyone else on here, want to thank Dr. Hamish Ross. And Julia, thank you for your contributions to that segment, including your scarf. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to put that back on?
Yes.
Good, because I'll be criticized, as I normally am. When you show up down here without a scarf on, I get criticism. There we go. That's more like it. Okay, that's a good break. We'll get on. There's an interesting point from Ed Crease. He's saying, replying to John Emmett, if they'd race in big modern monohulls, TP-52s, TP-72s, or something with some strict nationality rules, interest would swell. Totally agree. Russell Miller, want me to send you a BYC scarf? We have a comparable one. Yes, Russell, please do. Put it on my account. And please send one up here, and Julia will wear a BYC scarf sometime sooner than
I haven't even seen that.
Later. Well, I've been a lousy member and a lousy tenant, BYC scarf from my other yacht club, Balboa Yacht Club. Dr. Hamish Ross. So we're discussing the good, bad, and the ugly of the protocol. This thing is not, as I said on the show last Friday, this protocol is more by way of a public relations statement than it is a protocol. There's a lot of work to come. Ed Worley and others, Mark Hound, have said the devil's in the details, and there are a lot of details yet to cover. Okay, let's get to John Emmett. Speaking of John Emmett, his regular report, the Coaching Corner from Super Fozy John Emmett of Great Britain. He's home in Weymouth today.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. I'm back in Weymouth, and I can't really say sunny Weymouth, but we have really good conditions at the moment for sailing. We've got the Flying 15s. They've just had a training block, a nationals block, and finally a worlds block. And I will try and give you a little bit of footage from there. And it's just fantastic to see another sailing club, another sailing class enjoying the Olympic waters. So yeah, that's a great thing. And in terms of the show, I want to say I really enjoyed the last show, and comments really are always incredibly welcome. And from my perspective, I've always, or at least I try to always have a blank sheet of paper so that I can learn. And when I'm coaching and teaching, I always encourage feedback, because that way you can be open to new ideas and you can see what comprehension there has been and whether I need to clarify things a bit more. And a lot of the coaching mistakes I've made has often been that I didn't realise more detail was needed, more explanation was needed. Like a weather forecast, it's not good enough to know it's going to be southwesterly 15 knots. We need to know why. Is it a gradient wind that's increasing or decreasing? Is it a sea breeze? What's going on? What's the big picture? So yeah, really nice to get some discussion, and my job to do a bit more clarification, because obviously by definition constructive criticism is exactly that. It's constructive. It helps build, it helps make things better. And sometimes the difficulty is, I believe, you know, people think they're being constructive when perhaps it isn't, and it's something I'm very aware of on the water. In fact, sometimes the things I don't say, pink elephants, is actually as important as what I do say, pink elephants, because you can put an idea in somebody's head or vision in someone's head that they wouldn't have had otherwise, pink elephants. So that's why I always have the positive affirmation. You don't say don't capsize, you say move across the boat quickly. So this idea of being constructive with all your thoughts is very important, and to share that, because we're all ambassadors of our beloved sport, and sometimes it's time framed. So you can criticize a regatta in terms of making the next one better, and again, that's only useful if there can be some improvement. But at the same time, we often need to accept that, you know, on a micro scale, today we're going sailing in very light winds or unstable winds, or this is the regatta format that we have for the next quad, and we have to accept it and do our best. And as I said, in terms of sailing, I completely accept, you know, not everything's a cup of tea. Personally, I found it quite hard in a way in terms of the sailing to go back from racing 49ers and tornadoes back to the Ilka, because it, well, apart from the fact my legs hurt, very different style of sailing, but also very good. So that's why I'm always talking about thinking about the outcome, what you're trying to achieve. Because remember, not all good traditions are good traditions. You've got things looking back. We had sports where women weren't allowed in the clubhouse or perhaps even to play the game. You look at Wimbledon, Wimbledon, not Wimbledon, where you've got the players wearing white, which for female athletes, you know, a certain time a month could cause a huge amount of anxiety. So not all traditions are good. And the way things are, if they've changed, hopefully they changed for the better. And that's why, you know, we gradually and relentlessly move forward. But anything that's good in life or our sport will stay, because you have that that core. I mean, we look back at the Olympic classes over the past few years, and they've changed a lot. Ironically, was there with some of the Olympic gold medalists at the Ilka Nationals chatting about how things used to be. One big example about a difficulty for sailing is the cost side of it. And they talk about strong wind regattas. And this is from an Olympic gold medal winning coach. Strong regattas, you would have, you know, star boats were measuring in to brand new strong wind jibs, because after 3 days of sailing, they wanted to change it. Again, this is from an Olympic gold medal winning coach. And you think about barriers for poorer teams, I mean, that's a huge issue. And in terms of the Ilka class, you know, I think things should be a lot cheaper, and I am keen to do that, but at the same time want to improve equipment. So it'd be wonderful to see the Ilka 4 and the Ilka 7 have a composite lower, and to have a straighter boom, so I didn't keep on knocking the back of my head. But these things are things which hopefully we can improve on in a constructive way, and that's why we need to support our clubs and classes. But I hope as we go through and as the years pass by, we're gradually heading in the right direction. And that's why I'm so keen on looking at new types of the sport, like winging, which is, again, I think very accessible. And I see a lot of sailors now, they do the club race in the Sunday morning, and then they all go winging as soon as they can after it. So in terms of inclusivity, we've got the youth, the women, and the para. And that's my goal for 2025. And if you check out on YouTube, I'm gradually doing some more long form videos that hopefully will raise awareness of some of the wonderful para personalities, and hopefully we can get some of them on the show in due course. If you haven't done so already, now is the time to share. Drop your comments. I do always do my best to read them, even if I have to read them in replay. And sail fast, sail safe, and keep having fun. Bye for now.
And keep having fun and keep exchanging opinions. And I don't always agree with John, but I appreciate his constructive opinions, even if I will pronounce it Wimbledon.
No.
Julia, Wimbledon. Isn't that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that, and then they can make that into a drinking word. We should have the Wimbledon of sailing, the Magic Cup, the Wimbledon of...
Oh.
Thanks, John Emmett. The coaching corner, John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. And as John said, we want to keep pushing for Paralympic sailing. We want to get sailing back in the Paralympics. And we will do that, we think. And this is one thing we all agree on, that by getting it in as a demonstration event for 2032 in Brisbane, the Brisbane Olympics, is the best way back for our beloved sport, for parasailing, back into the Paralympics down the road. Thanks again to Hamish Ross, who's been our guest today. If you missed the first hour and change of this show, hope you go back and watch it in replay. All these shows are available, even now that Facebook, by the way, is taking shows down after a month or so, videos, long videos. They're taking them down. They've been doing this now for the last 4, 5, 6 months. And we have all of our shows saved, but YouTube, to which we co-stream, YouTube does not take the shows down. They're there, as far as we know, in perpetuity. So you can always go back and watch a show that you've missed, even from...
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Oh, that's good
Even
to know.
though on Facebook, Julia, they are coming down after 3, 4 months now, something like that, maybe even less than that. I want to do Bravo Zulu. The Bravo Zulu here, and really to the French team at SailGP. This was... everybody was watching it. Everybody has an opinion on what happened in Sassnitz in Germany over the weekend, but the French, Bravo Zulu 2, Quentin Delapierre and his team for winning, and he says, by golly, he said, my goodness, he said, mon Dieu, he said,
Mon Dieu.
it's a perfect boost for the next event, which of course is in Saint-Tropez. Bravo Zulu to him and his team. They won in good fashion. They did not fall off their foils in that marginal foiling condition, that final race. France driver Quentin Delapierre says his team will take the momentum of their fairy tale win at the Germany Sail Grand Prix into their home event in Saint-Tropez next month. Le Bleu came back from a disastrous practice race crash that saw one of their rudders totally obliterated to claim victory in Sassnitz, the first ever Sail GP event in Deutschland. Here they are at the prize giving, and it was a festive event, festive occasion. It was redemption as well for Delapierre's team, who were forced to sit out of the first 2 events of the 2025 season. Remember that?
Yes.
Due to delays to their new F-50 getting built. And then they suffered that dramatic wing incident
awful, yeah.
in Portsmouth that was scary. When their starboard rudder exploded during a high-speed turn in practice racing on Friday in Sassnitz, it looked like the team's bad luck would continue. And there it is. That's after the rudder exploded. And just to leeward and behind them is the Australian team. And I've talked with, we were chatting, in fact, we were watching the races, and some of you were on a chat. And we were astonished, Julia, frankly, that Tom Slingsby and the Australian team did not run the French over when they nosedived in their rudder, and they did that kind of big turn to the left, right. The Crazy Ivan, and astonishing that they did not. Let's see if I can get rid of that. I always forget to get rid of the telestrator green square. That there was not a major, because had they run into the French, who knows how many people would have been hurt on both boats, because you got not only the green boat going over the French boat, the blue boat, but the green boat's going to stop and everybody on the boat's going to keep going forward. And that would have been an awful occasion. Here is a video now of that event during the practice race on Friday.
And As they approach mark number 1, it is France on the inside and the Swiss just off to their right. And look at the speeds already at 90 kilometers an hour.
Oh, best seat in the house on board.
Oh, France!
That was so close. Oh, the French have really put it in the water there. Unbelievable scenes. We're going to have to come back and see what happened. What a moment.
You're smiling.
At the commentator.
The only thing worse than the event was the commentary. So I'm going to run it again now without the commentary. We'll turn that down. It's just croutonic. Oops, let me get back there. I think I'm going to run it again without the commentary. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. Without the commentary. Now, I'm going to stop it right because there's been a lot of discussion whether the turn caused the rudder to shear off, the rudder post, or whether the wing, Peter Stevenson and I were texting, and I originally thought that the wing exploded before the rudder did because you see a piece come up in the air, but they are turning, I think, turning away to jibe. I don't think they want to go downhill, and they're just turning. The rudder is obviously under a lot of load. These boats have been loaded up with these T-foils. They're starting to get a little long in the tooth. They got the big wing on, and there's a lot of load on these boats that wasn't necessarily designed. Now, Peter Stevenson thinks that little splash of water there is something in the water that they hit. And I can't find anybody at Sail GP and people well connected, such as Jody Shields, who think that was the case, Peter. But there now, the Crazy Ivan is happening. There, I think you can see that is the rudder, or the wing at least, coming off the boat. And
yeah, the rudder.
There's the rudder and both wings. I think up here now is the wing, the one wing, and there is the rudder and the other wing coming off the boat. And as they're doing the crazy, and now they do for sure the Crazy Ivan, because that rudder is, there is downforce back here in the back of the boat. Normally that rudder is actually holding the boat down. And that is not now happening, and they auger in, they bury the bow, and down they go. Let me go back one more time and just look at that in real time without the commentary. I think they started to bear away to the left and the rudder sheared off. I think, you know, Occam's razor is usually the simplest solution, simplest explanation is usually the best explanation, Julia.
Yeah.
What are we seeing in the comments here? Is that covered by warranty? Clark Chapin is asking. The rudder really did explode, Blake Middleton. Yes, indeed, it did. Alan Long, wow. Gordon Smith, wish we could see that. Yeah, that's a good point, Gord. We wish we could see it from the mastheads, but I don't think Sail GP released it widely. Fog Machine, Lance Burke here, who's an engineer and a techno nerd and a very smart guy here, good friend at St. Francis. I found it interesting that the rudder flew forward of the boat when it exploded.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I think that's because they were all going forward and the boat stopped and the rudder didn't. It came up out of the water and still had some forward momentum. John Collings, I see the AC as a technology and development event more than a match racing event these days. True. Well, it's always been a technology event within limits. Bit of a Ricky Bobby moment, Ed Kreis. I've asked him before, and I've forgotten how to properly pronounce his name. The Germans would say Kreise. The Anglos might say Kreise. Clayton Embley, it looked like the rudder was overstressed. Yes, I think we all agree with that, Clayton. Ted Ryman, it looks more like sideways water pressure snapping it off. Yes, Ted. Alan Long, replying to Gordon Smith, thought it was released. Think I posted it, World Sailing Yacht Club on Facebook. Okay. Thank you, guys and gals, for that. Now let's go see what Quentin Delapierre had to say after all of that.
Congratulations. It's been so long for your last event, Wayne. You've had just, I guess, a horrible season waiting out. How special is it now?
Yeah, it is super special for the CEOs, for the management, the athletes, of course. And as I said at the press conference, it's been a while since we win a Grand Prix in CRGP. And yeah, I mean, it's always a special feeling, but even more now because, yeah, we've been waiting for a long time.
And you know, yesterday morning, your leg was injured. You didn't know if you were going to go on the water with your boat. Sort of, how did you go from that to just going out there and taking it on and winning the event?
Yeah, I mean, we've been spoken a lot about my leg, but I mean, it's okay. It's just a bit sore. And yeah, I've been super focused with all the guys and Mano on board to make sure we deliver our basic performance, and we can be focused on tactic and strategy. And yeah, with a bit of luck this weekend, we're fortunate to win it.
And you have your home event next in Saint-Tropez. Does it feel nice to have the momentum as you lead into that?
Yeah, honestly, it's a dream to come in Saint-Tropez with a win on the bag, and hopefully we will have a kind of the same performance in front of our own fans.
Okay, well, a nice guy. I don't know him well. I met him, but this is a fantastic win. The French were good all weekend, and he was in hospital on Friday.
Yeah,
he got, apparently when they augered in, he got his chest against the wheel or got thrown across the boat. I don't know what was happening, but you heard him. His back and front apparently were not correct. Chest, back, so on. So bravo Zulu to him and his team. It really was an amazing performance. And
yes.
They, especially on that final, that grand final, winner take all 3-boat final, when they stayed on their foils, and the other, both Tommy Slingsby and Dylan Fletcher, the Brits or the Aussies and the Brits respectively, had trouble staying on their foils. It was patchy. The wind was blowing offshore. It was shifty. It was lake conditions. Clark Chapin would have been right at home in those shifty lake conditions. So, bit of a weird deal, but nonetheless, the rudder was overstressed, Clark Chapin is saying. You think? The question is what exactly overstressed the rudder, the engineer that he is. Also, a comment here I like from from Dogzilla Monster, a.k.a. Stingray, up, who's watching it on YouTube up in Seattle. Sail GP has a good mix of technology and sailor action. Exactly. Jody Shields is reminding us that he, Quentin Delapierre, smashed the wheel when he got pushed forward, so it was pretty violent. Clark Chapin's asking, are airbags on the wheel and the front cockpit edge? Are they next? I don't think so. But that wasn't the only carnage. The French team, this, as you know, we reported on the Friday show. It happened before our show on Friday.
Yeah.
When the other new boat, and by the way, that's a good point, too, that... who would make Mark Holland, I think. Yeah, Mark Holland made the point. Remember, the French boat and the Brazil boat were both new this season. They were new add-ons to the fleet. So it's an interesting, you can't just blame it on old boats or the old boats. And maybe arguably the old boats have been gone over with a fine-tooth comb more than even the newer boats.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not there in the tech center, not part of Russell's tech team. But this was the other new boat, the Brazilian boat, which, as you know, augered in and then blew up literally on Friday, and that ended their weekend. They did not race on Saturday or Sunday, Martina Grail's team.
Yeah, I felt so
These
sorry
ugly
for
pictures.
her. Yeah.
And it was a sad state of affairs. There they are, thumbs up. No one was hurt. That's the indication that everybody's okay on Martina's team, on her boat, Mubadala Brazil Sail GP team. And here is the video of that incident again.
As they flew past Mark 1, Australia are down on the inside. Oh my word, it's a big incident.
Problems, big problems.
Oh no, and there's a massive incident on board the Brazilian boat. Oh, this is huge here at the moment. Disaster as we see the Australians lead the fleet away now. They are down the road. Los Gallos cut the corner. We're going to have to see what happened at Mark 1 there, but that was a big moment.
2 incidents as they went around mark number 1. First, it was France. It looked like they pulled the e-brake, Stevie. And
there was a fair bit of criticism from Magnus the Magnificent in his blog posts and a few other journalists saying, this is getting dangerous. This is getting a little too much on the edge or too edgy, too over the edge. Somebody's going to get hurt. They need to settle down just a bit here. And they have put these boats under too much pressure with the T-foils and the big wings, the 18-meter wings, the big ones, and they need to dial things back before somebody does get hurt. They also were criticized, that is Sail GP, for celebrating the carnage. There were a lot of immediate PR things, a lot of posts on social media, a lot of videos, and this commentary, and we all criticize it, but it's over the top.
Yep.
I mean, it's too much. And I don't know what else to say, but Russell, I hope you will take note of that. And it's not just my opinion or Julia's opinion. It's the opinions of a lot of people in the sailing world. Having said that, Julia, I really think Sail GP is the big deal in the sport now. And I think Mr. Dalton is, as you heard Hamish say, I think Mr. Dalton is feeling the pressure from Sail GP. They have an event once a month or more. Mm-hmm. They have 14 teams or no, they have 12 teams, 13. I can't remember the number of teams and about 13 or 14 events now. And it's in the calendar year, January through December, or through November, and then they take December off. It's regular. They're increasingly signing up more sponsors. They just signed up HSBC, I think I saw this morning, as a new sponsor for the upcoming event in Switzerland. So, they're going from strength to strength. Mm. And the idea that you're going to change the America's Cup into Sail GP, which is what I think bottom line is really happening here, is Mr. Dalton thinks he's going to make it as regular and as interesting as Sail GP. It ain't going to happen. Mm-mm. It ain't going to happen. So go back to what was the great things about the America's Cup and make those greater. A one-on-one challenge or a multiple challenger, simple, clean event in some kind of big monohulls that are great for match racing. That's what's made the America's Cup great forever. I mean, not just since the 1930s, but forever. Anyway, just to put an exclamation point on it, that's what the boat looked like, the Mubadala Team Brazil boat, Martina Grail's team, after, as we pointed out to you the other day, this hull, the port hull pontoon just came unglued from both cross beams. The cross beam broke up front, and the wing came down, and I think the wing was actually, the bottom of it had some damage, but the wing was actually in fairly good shape. But the question now is, will they be ready to race next month?
No, so somebody just
in the chat?
Said that Brazilian boats have been taken to Southampton. Could be a while before it's all fixed up.
Yeah, and I see that. And I also saw, Julia, there was a note somewhere that they might be out for 3 events, but I don't think so. Russell and that team will get this thing fixed up, I think, quicker than that. Any other comments? A Sail GP event in Naples would smoke any AC one. Well, as I said on my Facebook page the other day, Stingray, Dogzilla Monster, the Sail GP boats are going as fast or faster. I mean, they broke a speed record for what that's worth. And I don't care how fast they're going, because when you look at them on TV, they don't look like they're going that fast. And again, I think it's how close the competition is, not how fast. It's NASCAR GP, Joe Cool says. It promotes the sport and brings more sailors into the sport. John Emmett says, and I agree with John, I'm sure Brazil will be racing next month. I think since they lost, after they had to redo all those wings and they skipped the event in Brazil, I think they'll make every effort to get that boat fixed.
They have lots of time,
I think. Okay. Clark Chapin, strength to strength, except when it comes to rudders. Yeah, okay. I don't agree, Ted Ryman is saying, try telling an F1 driver to slow down. Speed is what it's all about. There will always be a risk, but it's worth taking. Yeah, okay, but there are, they've cleaned F1 up a lot. Before I got involved in it in 97, I was involved for a decade, and the Ayrton Senna tragedy had just happened. I mean, the stuff that's gone into making F1 much safer is to be applauded, and we need to do the same thing here for Russell and Larry need to do the same thing for Sail GP so we don't have more of this. When on Friday it was confirmed that the high-speed practice race crash ends Brazil's Germany Sail Grand Prix. Now, what about the American team? Well, the American team had a high-flying, pardon the pun, high-flying start to their regatta. They were on the podium for the first race. They finished third. Mm-hmm. And looked like the addition of the Sail the America's Cup guys, Michael Meninger and Andrew Campbell to that team were having a positive effect. They finished 3-9-4. Then this happened.
Okay, coming down 5, down 2, down 5, down 5, down 5, down 10. Oh, keep going. No. Keep going.
You want to see that again, Julia?
Not really. But,
Okay, coming down 5. Down 2, down 5.
Okay, now there's a buoy there.
Yeah.
You see this buoy.
Yeah.
Now, I had quite a discussion with Jody Shields and others of you since this happened on Saturday, the last race of Saturday. This buoy it's there because it's a television buoy, and it's one of the marks of the course, but not at this point in the course. The Brits can't go up much, but they're really, they're on starboard tack. They don't really have to worry about what's going on here. It's the port tack boat, the American boat, that's got to worry. The Brits are just going to go straight ahead and assume that the American boat's going to duck below them, right? But the American boat is to try to duck, because they maybe they see the buoy, maybe they don't, but if they're going to duck and go behind the Brit boat, they see that buoy there, and they're going to have to take a big duck and go way behind the Brit boat, I think, is part of what the conundrum is here. You see that?
Yep.
But the other question is, who is on this center beam? Let's go back. Who is on this center beam? I'll try it again here.
Okay, coming down 5. Down 2, down...
Calling, you got to come down 5. He's saying you got to go below this boat, come down 5, meaning 5, I guess, degrees, but 5 clicks. Who is on this center beam here on this part of the boat? Who's calling this? I don't know who that was. Does any of you know?
5, down 5, down 5.
And you can hear his voice rising, and probably more than just his voice, is he was probably puckered pretty good here, because he's the only one. Everybody else over here on this side of the boat, they can't see what's going on, but he's making the call.
Down 10.
Oh, industrial language.
No. Keep going. No, we can't.
So what are you all saying in the chat? Decision vapor lock, Ed Worley says. I have to say why when calling a duck in anger. Yeah, I believe it's Mike Buckley on the beam. That's what Jody has been saying. I didn't think Mike was on the boat this weekend. Did he go back on the boat? Was he on the boat? Dogzilla Monster says it's Menninger, that it's Michael Menninger. I thought it was either Michael or Andrew Campbell from other sources, but I don't know.
Dogzilla says Buckley was not in the boat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mike Buckley was not on the boat, Julia. He was not on the boat last event in Portsmouth. He went off and these other guys were on. And I don't think he was on the boat this weekend, but I don't know for sure. I've scoured it. I even asked ChatGPT.
Oh, and they didn't know?
And they didn't know.
Oh, my gosh.
They couldn't confirm it. So there's Taro Q Therese Marie Tucker. There's a new name. It was either they didn't see it or disregarded the safety concerns because of winning at all costs. If ladder sportsmanship was the issue, I don't think that was it. I think they just misjudged it.
Yeah.
Taro Q. Teresa Marie Tucker. There's Claire Harrington is on. Hello, Vice Commodore Harrington. My opinion, if anyone cares to hear it, is that the AC and Sail GP can coexist, support and complement each other. Even at that, Sail GP will never be the America's Cup. Totally agree, Claire. Totally agree. And let's see what other people are saying here. Yeah, they got 12 season points deducted. Well, they got a bunch. Rick Bannerow, the silence from Team USA is fascinating on who was on the center pod. Well, he's calling it, and whether they came down enough, I don't know. But there is a screen grab that I took. I was the first one to post a picture of the incident. I was watching it and did a replay and screen grabbed it. And there is the moment. It's lucky they didn't tear the rudder off. It's amazing they got that Brit boat fixed. Mm-hmm. And to several of you with whom I was chatting during and after that incident, I said, well, they'll make all efforts to get the Brit boat back on the water. And they did. They apparently did nothing overnight to try to rehab the American boat, even though putting that bow section back, that's a breakaway bow, Jody tells me. Jody Shields is saying.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that bow section, Julia.
Isn't as serious?
Is not as big. Yeah, exactly. It's not that big a deal. They should be able to put that back on. And they could have been yachting, but I think the powers that be said, no, you get the Brit boat fixed and don't worry about the American boat. And to the everlasting credit of the Brit Shore team and the Sail GP technical team, And apparently the American team pitched in as well to try to help get the Brits back on the water, and they were. But there you can see that there's the bow of the American boat. And again, it does, I don't know what other problems, when you hit something like that, there's no doubt other issues in the boat that we don't know about. But nonetheless, and probably needless to say, they did not race on Sunday. That was the end of their regatta yet again.
Mm-hmm.
A couple other photos of.
In fact, somebody just took a big chew out of that.
Well, yeah, it did. It chew out of the bow. Now, those of you who want to see a more detailed video so you can see the build up to this whole thing, here now is the official Sail GP video of the incident.
Oh, big incident
look
here
at
in the
the front
United
left.
States. They've lost the bow of the boat. We've not seen what happened on the race course here. Huge moment. Safety crew are going to have to get alongside and make sure things are okay there. We're going to, I'm sure, get some footage of what happened soon on the racetrack with that one, but that's disaster for the United States after such a good first day so far. As we can see, jettison parts of the US team floating there. They'll be collected by our safety crews for sure in the next few moments. Some replays of what happened in that race earlier on the incident here. We can see Port Tack, United States. They've got to keep clear here of Emirates, Great Britain. They see them too late. Oh, that's catastrophic. They had to keep clear there. There's no one on the bottom side of the boat looking for that incident. Oh, that's unbelievable. They've just taken, I think the British boat's going to be seriously damaged in that, but British with right of way.
They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. Head up, head up, head up, head up.
Oh my Lord.
Hannah Mills called it.
Oh, well, that's the trouble. You've got sets of eyes on the boat so people can look. There was no one on the leeward side of that United States boat looking. If you've not got the right of way, you've got to be looking where you're going. Oh, that's a shocker. But now, here, it was gusty, it was shifty, but this was just a disastrous moment in the race. You can see a hole put into the British boat. United States have got to keep clear, but the strategist there just too late coming down to look for the boat. Just not really acceptable. You've got to have your eyes out of the boat here.
Well, they did have their eyes out of the boat. I don't know why Stevie Morrison, whom I don't know, would carry on like that, but he did. Okay, let's go back to the chat because you all are reminding me that they took a section out of the American boat and used it to repair the Brit boat. There was a video of that, Baton Rouge, and many others of you suggested that. Even part of a carbon boat is breakaway, Clark Chapin says, but some parts are sacrificial and designed to preserve hull integrity after breaking away. Yes, indeed. And Mark Holland, we don't know who was calling the strategy on that boat. And everybody is calling for Taylor Canfield now to get replaced. Even I am calling for that. I've been pretty patient.
Hasn't he been?
No, he's still driving, and we'll see if he's driving the next one. Yeah, John Collins, I don't know. I don't know if Taylor was trying to avoid the mark in the water, but it was there. But the American team does not look very well put together. I mean, they are obviously got lots of problems from the top down. Mike Buckley, who's trying to run it as the CEO, and he tried to sail on the boat. Now he's off the boat. I think. I don't believe he raced either, as I said, in Portsmouth or at this event. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows. But Taylor Canfield, I'm sorry, he's got to go. You just don't make a mistake like that. A crossing mistake at speed. Again, if they hadn't just knocked off, what if they'd been, a couple, 3 degrees to the left and went aboard the British boat? And Hannah's back there. I mean, she must have been wetting herself. I would have been if I were back there. My goodness. And remember, too, we'll do the bar karate thing, but if the port tack boat is crossing behind and the starboard tack boat, which is this hand, the starboard tack boat is crossing ahead, and Hannah's calling, you could hear on other videos, to head up. Well, you don't really want to head up in that situation, at least not much, because if you head up, you're swinging your stern into the other boat a little bit. Probably not too much
5
of these
degrees,
boats,
yeah.
But it's better just to keep on trucking and if anything, bear away, which turns your transom away and hope that then they cross behind you.
Yeah.
But, you're at that speed, things are happening so fast
Yes.
that, how can you say? Who are you going to say? Who am I to say? Ed Kriza, thanks to, hope I'm pronouncing that right, Ed. Let me know. Or give me a phonetic spelling in the chat, would you please? Ed Kriza is saying, at least they look good, the American team and their Tommy Hilfiger gear. God, it's cringeworthy, the social media stuff that team is doing with all of the Tommy Hilfiger, prancing about in their clothes and when they're just performing so badly on the water. And Dogzilla Monster agrees with me. That was scary close to someone getting badly hurt or worse. Robert McClellan, I'm glad to see chat in here from other people, including Jonathan Shore, my old friend. Jonathan, nice to see you in the chat. Robert McClelland. Now, Robert didn't we decide he's the rear Commodore of the Royal Prince Alfred? Is that Robert McClellan? He's saying it seemed the eyes looking at the Brit boat only came down to look at the last 3 seconds, and made no mention of the buoy at all. It seems they were not aware until too late. That's sort of the way I feel.
Yeah, it was hard to see.
And Rob Fry is saying, this Groover, he's saying, yeah, okay. Rob Fry, remember back to Sydney when the Brits took their bow off the Japanese boat, the Brits gave their boat to Japan the next day. Yes, indeed. And Rick Bannerill's not too fond of the Hilfiger kit anyway. Any other comments for the good of the order here before we leave this topic? If not, we'll move forward with the results. And again, Bravo Zulu to Quentin Delapierre. And, we haven't said anything about Slingsby, but the guy is really good. He sailed well all weekend. He'd have a lousy start or he'd get the wrong way on one of the weather legs, and he'd claw his way back into the from the cheap seats back to the top, race after race. Dylan Fletcher and the Brits sailed brilliantly until that third and final, that winner take all race on Sunday when they fell off the foils and found their luck ran out. Their luck ran out, Julia.
Yes.
On that last day, they just kept sailing into some light air patches, but they did sail really well all weekend, and nobody said much at all about the black foils.
What I didn't see is the overall score, because my friends, the Spanish, are still sort of...
Julia, your wish is my command.
Oh, good.
There's the overall scores.
Yeah, see, they're very close.
Los Gallos, they now call themselves.
Yeah.
They are in fourth place, only 2 points out of third.
Yes.
They're in the hunt.
Yes.
They're only 5 points out of first. Plenty of time to go. The French are starting to climb up, and I think...
and looking good.
And looking good after this regatta. They've had a bad run. The only other question, Julia, that people have brought up, and we do have to address it, is why doesn't SailGP takes the F1 attitude about damage. If you're in a car accident in F1, you don't get redress. You're out. If you can't finish, to finish first you got to finish, is the F1 attitude. Same here. Russell does not give redress points. If some other boat crashes you out of the race, well, you're out of the race. So that gives you more incentive yourself to avoid collisions.
Yes.
Because you don't want to get yourself crashed out of a race. But people are saying, well, the Brits had no possibility to avoid that collision. They got crashed out of the race, and only because they had a lot of other good finishes that they managed to get into the final three. Mm-hmm. And Andrew McIrvin is asking, among others in the chat, why is there no redress granted?
It almost seems as if there should be the possibility for that.
Yeah, I think I agree. David James, Team USA must be so proud to tie with Team BRA, who didn't race. I suppose it's a refreshing change from being in sole possession of last. Had USA not sailed any regattas this season, they'd have more points than they currently do, Owen Miller is saying. Yeah, it's a disappointment. I think there's going to be a change. I have said to Commodore Harrington, and she's not replied, because I say things to a lot of people on here who don't reply. Yeah. And I said to Claire, it would be great if Doug DeVos just bought the team.
The New York team.
The American team.
Yeah.
Doug DeVos and a New York American Magic just bought the team, used it as a platform, as a training platform for the America's Cup team if the America's Cup team were going forward, and I don't know that they are.
Yeah, no.
I hope they do, but I'm not so sure given the confusion and the craziness going on in the Cup world right now. And buy the team. And even if they don't, it's another reason to buy it, because then you keep the sailing team occupied and in good competition in Sail GP, which is, it's become the deal in the sport. I agree with Claire. It's not going to replace the America's Cup.
No.
And it's not the pinnacle event, but it is probably the pinnacle event, along with arguably the TP52, the 52 Super Series. But, it's a big deal. You got all the top sailors.
Yes.
Foiling.
Yes.
Makes John Emmett happy. They're foiling.
Yes.
But they have regular events. They have lots of sponsors. They have television coverage. We have people watching it. We have a little bit of carnage, which attracts, sadly, some non-sailors.
Right.
But I think you have to wonder why you don't give, or at least, as you said, Julia, have the possibility to grant redress when a team has no possibility. It's completely and utterly not their fault.
Yes.
And I don't think you could blame the Brits in this case, unless there's something I don't know that somebody else does. I don't see how you
But
can
the
blame
judges should have that information, and they ought to be
have
given
the ability to grant redress. There's a lot of people, I think, who agree with you. Italy's Ruggero and team are still struggling. Will Burling be a helm for Luna Rossa? That's a good question. Jody Shields, not sure if you can look at the video I just sent, but it is interesting. And the Davos team could hardly do worse than the current Buckley Canfield team, the DeVos team, Clark Chapin. Well, that's true. I think they'd fix that team up. I said to Claire, buy it, get Doug to buy it, put Terry in charge, not on the boat, put him in charge. You've already got a couple of American Magic guys, maybe 3 on there already. Put H4 or one of the other American Magic type guys on there. There's 2 or 3 other good Americans foiling type guys.
Year-round practice.
And get on with it. Get the resources and stop mucking about with, doing prancy social media sponsor fulfillment. But Claire didn't reply to that. She said, oh, okay. Didn't even say that. Surprised no one has been seriously hurt or killed yet, or I don't know. What does pinnacle mean? Oldest? No, it means the top. Come on, Joe Cool. Joe Cool here in the Bay Area. There's your standings.
Yep.
With what? There are 5 more events, are there? What month is this? August, September, October, November. 3 more events? Is that it, or are there 4? There are 4 more. There's 3 or 4 more events going forward, and that is our report on Sail GP, unless somebody else in the chat. What about DJ Khalid? Yeah, let's forget about him. Peter Taylor. Here, Tom. Thank you, Peter. Just bad luck to be taken out. There shouldn't be redress. Ted Ryman says everyone will learn to avoid Taylor.
Oh, that's not fair.
Ryman is clever, isn't he?
He is.
We have so many clever fozy on here, Julia. Should just turn the show. I should just, what we should just do is put the Zoom on. I'll switch slides and let people respond to the slides.
Yes.
And they could say more clever things probably.
No question.
It's hilarious that Sail GP is getting more excitement even on this show than the AC. Well, it's true. And Dogzilla Monster, a.k.a. Stingray, I'll say his real name probably by mistake. He's in the Witness Protection Program up in Seattle.
Right.
He's not really, but I call it the yacht racing version of a Witness Protection Program. Yes. As we go forward here with this day in history, Julia, apropos what we talked about at the top of the show, and this being World Snapper Day or Photograph Day, 1839 was the year we were talking about. This photo is the first known photo of a person that showed up in one of these daguerreotypes. You see in the lower right corner there? It's hard to differentiate, but apparently what happened is that they had to have exposure of these photos. I'll tell you more in a moment. For like 4 or 5 minutes to get enough light onto these tin and silver, whatever these plates were.
Right.
And this is a street, obviously, in Paris. I guess it's obvious because we've been talking about it. And there was there's cars running up and down that street, or horse and buggies or something running up, not cars, obviously, but horse and buggies running up and down the street. You don't see them because the exposure was so long that nothing took.
Right.
However, that in the lower right corner is a person who was having his shoes shined.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that showed up. And that's apparently the first known photo of a person. But that's not what happened on this day in history, Julia. That is the aforementioned Louis Jacques Daguerre from France, who lived until the year of the America's Cup, 1787 to 1851. And he, along with a partner earlier in the century, was a French artist and photographer. Apparently he's quite a creative guy, besides developing photography, recognized primarily for his significant contributions to the field of photography. He is most famously known for developing the daguerreotype process of photography, which became the first commercially successful photographic process in the mid-19th century. And it was on this day in history, in 1939, and that photo was from 38, that his daguerreotype photographic process with complete working instructions was published free to the world in Paris.
That's really something nice to know.
On this day in August, 19th of August, 1939, as a gift from the French government. And one of the reasons I took this, Julia, was because the French won SailGP, and I'd like to make the connection.
Oh, that's nice.
Do you like that?
I was thinking it was the 100th anniversary of a precursor, 100-year precursor of my birth.
Your birth. Well, that too, Julia. That too. So there we are, back to this photo, and in the lower right corner here, you've got this action going on with the shoe shine guy and his, because he was, the shoe shine guy's moving. You can see that. He doesn't really come through very clearly. But the other guy is all but motionless. This is called The View of Boulevard du Temple, taken by Daguerre in 1838 in Paris, includes the earliest known verified photograph of a person. The image shows a busy street, but because the exposure had to continue for I've seen as many as 10 minutes mentioned for this photo, the moving traffic is not visible. At the lower right, however, a man apparently having his boots polished and the boot black polishing them were motionless enough for their images.
I think it's a wonderful story
to be captured.
Yeah.
You like that? On this day in history, Julia, and we talked about the good, bad, and the ugly. Somebody said, you got to talk about the ugly. Did Chapin say that? Is that what Clark said?
Yeah.
The ugly, the bad, and the good, because there's so precious little good about the protocol. Well, it's not that. It's that the whole setup is just croutonic. I want to do another Bravo Zulu, Julia, in praise of performance. And this one, we didn't cover it when the Transpac was happening, but our good friends on Badpack, this is a San Diego-based team, Tom Holtis's team of Botin 56, and they won their Division One. They won Division One, and they were 6th overall in that. What were there, 50 some odd boats in that fleet? But you see who's there?
Yes.
Second from left. There is our super Fozy by now, Jeffrey Peterson. Bravo Zulu to him. I don't know how many Transpacs he's done. I think he's done maybe one other. I'm not 100% sure if he's done any, but he was on Badpack when they won. So, but I also want to celebrate the gentleman next to him who sailed in Gov Cup this year. His name is Kelly Holtis. He's the son of the owner, the skipper of Tom Holtis. And Kelly Holtis has now done, and he's I think going in to be a sophomore in college at Tulane University. He has done fully 5 Transpacs, or so one hears. As I said, he sailed in Gov Cup this year with Morgan Pinckney. They finished 3rd. They got the bronze medal, and there he is next to Morgan on the stage at the prize giving at the Gov Cup last month. And that Kelly crewed for Morgan when they were 3rd in the 2025 Gov Cup. But I was sent this video of Kelly from his first Transpac, something like 10 years ago. I don't know if it's 8 years ago, 10 years, but here he is at age, I think, 12 when he was doing his first Transpac.
Kelly, you just competed in your first Transpac. How does it feel?
It feels great, like super tired, but it was super fun.
What was the best and worst part of the race after you left the dock and I saw you in LA?
Probably the worst part of the race is in the middle of the night. I had to wake up because our spinnaker rips, and I had no idea what was going on, just pitch black. And then I was swirling the spinnaker down, and it was pitch black down in the hold.
Oh my gosh. Was it terrifying?
Yeah.
Okay, so the best part of the race?
The best part was probably when I first saw Maui in the very distance. It was like 64 miles away.
Okay, so what are you going to do now that you're on dry land? First thing.
First thing I'm going to do is probably take a shower.
Awesome. All right, and what are you going to have for dinner?
I'm going to have pizza.
Nice. Awesome. Well, Kelly, congratulations.
Thanks.
So I don't know, that's from 8 years ago, but that was his first. And it just, again, it echoes a theme that we often repeat on here, and that is that we need to get kids out of their opties. Okay, now the kid's dad's got plenty of dough. He's a lawyer of considerable repute, and they've had a series of big boats. They had one of those Pack 52s.
Yeah.
And so I know the dad a fair bit. I rode in his plane one time. He flew me someplace. I don't remember where we were going. I think I flew from here down to San Diego with him. And the kid obviously benefits from having a dad that's affluent and has some big boat sailing. But we keep saying, get kids on big boats. And several of you said in the chat, why don't we get kids? In fact, they were asking John Emmett. He thinks it's good for kids to specialize on a boat or get into many different classes. And John has always said, get into as many classes as you can. Yeah, specialize in if you're making an Olympic pursuit or whatever. Or maybe you're concentrating on a class for the summer or a couple of years so you can try to go win the nationals or the worlds or whatever. But get kids on big boats. And okay, not every kid's going to get the chance to do the Transpac.
Nope.
But this kid, I can tell you, not only do I know him from Gov Cup, not well, but I've met him. He's a hell of a nice kid. And by all accounts, he's a great kid and is doing well in college sailing. He's, as I said, crewing in the Gov Cup. And I just thought that video was demonstrative of what we talk about on here, Julie.
Absolutely.
Bravo Zulu to Kelly Holtis and his family, and to Jeffrey Peterson for doing well in the Transpac this year's Transpac. Which gets us to the last leg, but let me see. But where are the names? Dougzilla, what is he talking about?
Jody Shields says, in case you're interested, I just sent you a link to a video from his Sail GPU.
Oh, okay. Explaining the crash. Well, I don't know if I can get that up. I don't think I can get that up that quickly. Let me see if I can here near the last leg. If I can, I'll play it. And if not, I'll use it on Friday's show, Jody. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. That gets us to the last leg here. And I want to celebrate the Admiral's Cup because Mr. Doctor chaired the steering committee, Julia. You remember that?
Right.
For the RORC, and he led the team. He got a group of international volunteers from around the world, including Stan Honey, who was part of that team, and many other senior series people, to revitalize, to rejuvenate, to reincarnate, if that's not an overstatement, the Admiral's Cup that just took place, and by all accounts was a huge success, as you all know, in the RORC's 100th anniversary year. The Rourke announces in the last 24 hours, they've announced the dates for the 2027 Admiral's Cup, building on that spectacular comeback, which Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin helped lead. Following the outstanding success of its much-anticipated revival this year and after a hiatus of more than 2 decades, the Rourke is delighted to announce the official dates for the next edition of the Admiral's Cup to be held, of course, every other year. In 2027 will be the next one. The Admiral's Cup in 2027 will take place from the 15th to the 30th July, once again bringing together the world's top offshore racing teams to compete for one of the sport's most prestigious trophies, building on the energy and enthusiasm of the 2025 event, the first event since '03. The Rourke expects an even larger international fleet, showcasing elite talent and fierce national pride on the water. And the event schedule starts on Thursday, the 15th of July, which is measurement and inspection, runs through Saturday, the 24th, which is the start of the Rolex Fastnet race, which several of you have pointed out, coincides with the plans for America's Cup 38 that falls right on top of AC38 in Naples.
And everybody knows that.
Well, I don't think they did it on purpose, but that's when you run the Admiral's Cup in July.
That's first.
And that's when you do it. And that's when it's being done. And a little bit of a one here's at the end of this, but again, bravo Zulu to the Yacht Club de Monaco, who were the winners. We've celebrated them before. And their vice president of the Yacht Club, Pierre, I don't think I spelled his name right there. Khashoggi, it's not that R is wrong. I beg your pardon. I apologize for the graphics department, Julia, here at the Beach Street Yacht Club, which is me, not you. But congratulations to that team. He is the YCM vice president and skipper. And here is a terrific video from Rolex wrapping up the Admiral's Cup 2025.
At 18:54 on Tuesday the 29th of July, Stefan Jens's Botin 56 Black Pearl crossed the finish line in Cherbourg. The first Admiral's Cup yacht to complete the Rolex Fastnet race. A strong offshore showing placed her 6th out of 15 in the Admiral's Cup Class 1, a commendable finish to a demanding campaign. The Rolex Fastnet race provided a fitting climax to the Admiral's Cup series with standout victories in both classes. In Class 1, Van Uden, skippered by Gerd-Jan Portman, crossed the line at 21:54 on Tuesday the 29th of July. With a corrected time of 4 days, 9 hours and 44 minutes, she secured a decisive class win. A powerful result from a former Admiral's Cup champion.
I'm speechless, to be honest. You know, we've got this project going now for 10 years, and this team has been sailing with me for the last 3 years. The young kids, average age of 23. Only 2 persons have done a Fastnet before, myself and one other girl. The weather gods has been with us very well, but we still had to call the right lanes and do the right technical calls, and we sailed the boat fast. It was just spotless, and the team was just fantastic.
Man, it's amazing. It's unbelievable, actually. We came into this race as for sure the underdog. Amazing feeling to finish the Fastnet in first place. Gerd-Jan Portman, I mean, he's the man. You know, he's been our coach. He's been our savior at times. So yeah, the biggest shout out goes to him.
You know, 99, I was a nipper. I was their age pretty much to do winning the Admiral's Cup with the Dutch team, and then I went on to do 3 Volvo Ocean races. Had a 26-year career. I mean, this circle's closed, right? It's you gave back what you got, and very thankful that I can be the skipper of this fantastic team.
From the start in Cowes to the finish in Cherbourg, Jolt 6 and Callisto were locked in a gripping match race. After 695 miles, just 23 seconds separated them at the line. After IRC time correction, it was Jolt 6 that took the Class 2 win.
Coming in with Callisto, we lost them at one point. We could see on the tracker that they had managed to stretch. We managed to come back, and having all these jibes with Callisto around the island there, such a beautiful scenery, and they were so perfect in all their maneuvers. It was just, I could see them from behind them. So definitely these moments were really, really special.
The 2025 Admiral's Cup came down to the wire. In Class 1, Peter Harrison's Jolt 3 claimed victory with a consistent performance across the inshore and offshore races. Just behind, Zen from Australia and Django Wally Rocket 51 from Italy kept the pressure on until the very end. In Class 2, Jolt 6 secured victory with a decisive win in the Rolex Fastnet race, edging just 1 point ahead of Callisto, with Bo Ideal rounding off the podium. Two boats, one stunning campaign and a defining performance in the Rolex Fastnet race, Yacht Club de Monaco write their name into Admiral's Cup history for the very first time.
We knew we had to stay close to Callisto to be able to win this, and we just matched everything they were doing.
Anything could have happened. I think until we were really in the port, having a beer, that was really when emotionally we realised we'd done it, and it was unbelievable.
And I think that what kept us going was each other. You managed to push each other by being a team and you know, not letting anyone down. And you know, these are moments that are very difficult to explain or to if you don't live them.
Without that team spirit, which I think embodies Admiral's Cup, we wouldn't be standing here today holding the trophy.
I just want to thank the whole team. The Cup, they deserve it more than me. They did everything perfectly. They're better sailors than me, and it's thanks to them if I'm here sitting today talking to you.
This year was a new beginning, but it wasn't the start of the story. To truly grasp what the Admiral's Cup is, we need to remember what it once was.
Unofficial World Championships of Offshore Racing, for which 19 countries have sent the elite of their boats, skippers and crews.
As a 15-year-old, when the New Zealand team won the Admiral's Cup in 1987, I had propaganda and fair share in Kiwi on my school folders. My tech drawing folder was covered in them. So it was a massive, massive event, and I feel very, very privileged and honoured to be able to finally do the event myself. Absolutely chuffed.
Everything about the Admiral's Cup's been special. You really felt like you're at a milestone event.
I'm very happy it's back. It's a fantastic event. Inshore, offshore, it's got everything.
It covers so many different types of sailing, so many different types of skill.
The best sailors of the world are here, well-prepared teams.
And I like to see that this go on. You know, don't tell me this is the one and only Revive Admiral's Cup. Hopefully 2 years down the road they're going to do it again.
The 2025 Admiral's Cup reminded us all, this is more than a trophy, it's the beating heart of international team racing. And now, it's alive again.
Video like that when the America's Cup comes back, to the history and tradition and dignity and spirit that it deserves, Julia.
Good idea.
Not a Rolex video, according to Mr. Doctor, who's in the chat. He said, but that might be next time. They sponsored the Fastnet race, but apparently not the Admiral's Cup. But based on the success of the Admiral's Cup, it would not be surprising. Robert McClellan, if you would send me, ping me on whatever, just on Facebook, I will send you a link to that video, or you can just go onto YouTube. You can, I think it's on the RORC's YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search Admiral's Cup RORC, and I think you'll find the video on there. Yeah, Andrew's saying Ad Cup not Rolex officially yet. The video was RORC made. Miles Warden Owen, Miles, the son of Eddie Warden Owen, was leading that and the social media. Bravo Zulu to him. Blake Middleton, man, that's beautiful footage in that video. Ed Worley, what a nice video. Sailors talking, showing the passion for our sport. Mm-hmm. And David James, to those who consider faster boats equals closer racing, consider 23 seconds after a 600 nautical mile race. And Commodore McClellan, again, if you would send me ping me here on Facebook, even just on Facebook Messenger, or otherwise text or email me. Back in the day, the AC had 3-boat teams. The Admiral's Cup had 3-boat team. More teams, more boats, more sailors is better, yes. And who knows what they will do next time. Ooh, a cup that you can drink from.
I was thinking that too.
Julia? You like that?
Yeah.
And the other chat, the other comments here. Thank you, Julia and Tom. Good show. Thank you, Don Lunabos and Commodore McClellan. And I just want to wrap this segment up by saying one hears, Julia.
Yes.
That Mr. Doctor, our super Fozy Andrew McIrvin, will be repeating as the chair of the steering committee for the 2027 Admiral's Cup.
Oh, good.
Bravo.
Oh, because he did such a good job.
Zulu.
Yeah.
And we'll see who he puts on that committee again. But no doubt he'll have some notables from around the yacht racing world to help guide him. Maybe they'll, because of the success of this, maybe they'll make it into 3-boat teams. There was some criticism that the 40-foot rating band, the smaller boats, were a little too small. But that's the only criticism I've seen, and I don't happen to share that. I think that made it quite exciting and more affordable and more approachable. So, Andrew, I don't know if you care to comment on any of this, but congratulations, bravo, Zulu, to you on going forward again to guide what has been and once again is one of the epic events in our sport. Thank you very much. Okay, I think that's it, Julia, which gets us to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, which you always love.
Yes.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And Julia, we start with a sailing show with a drinking habit or a drinking show with a sailing habit. I used to think drinking was bad for me, so I gave up thinking. I guess that's Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
That's from Ryman. When Ryman sends a clean one, I use it.
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
I can't use a lot of what he sends me. They're hilarious, but I can't always use them. He and Greg Phillips get the award.
Yeah.
For the sauciest.
Maybe you should make a collection and award it once a year.
I don't know about that.
Not on air.
I don't know about that. Now, here's one that's a little saucier. Shall we try a different position tonight? He asks. And she says, sure. Why don't you stand by the ironing board while I sit on the soda and fart? That from Peter Stevenson. And I've still got one in the can from Peter. We have a Peter's personal perspective we're going to get to when we get talking about meter boats again. We also have an America's Cup Trivia Challenge from Ed Worley. We're going to do a 12-meter show here at some point. Maybe get the Magic Cup going. And finally, the cleanest of all, I like to end on a clean one, but sailing related. An arc! An arc, you fool! Looks like he's making an arch, Julia.
Yeah, I know.
Huh?
Yes.
An arch for the animals 2x2 to pass through. And the word from above comes from Vice Commodore Claire Harrington. An arc! An arc, you fool! Finally, Lake Middleton's slide all the smartest people sail, which we've run on this show. Now, I'm going to continue to run because I think it is true. You got to be reasonably smart to sail. You got to be reasonably fit to sail. And that's one of the great things about our beloved sport. And all of you who do race and who come on here and watch this show, our show number 858 today, Julia, you like to say, when we get to the finish line.
Yes, don't miss the opportunity to like, follow, and share, and do all three because they help.
And comments are welcome even in replay. And we also want to thank especially those of you who contribute a few bucks a month to help keep us on the air. We need the funding not to buy groceries, not to buy booze, but if you could donate via patreon.com/join/sailing illustrated, a few bucks a month, we can keep our equipment paid for. We can upgrade our equipment. I even bought a little blue thing for the mic, Julia, which cost $9.95. I thought that was Sailing Illustrated blue. It looked good with the rest of our
I was going to say it goes
color,
well in the studio.
with our motif.
Yes,
Huh?
yes.
Thanks to everybody who does contribute. We appreciate it very much. And those of you who come on the show regularly, who like, share, and follow, because that helps with the algorithm. We do get a few bucks now a month from YouTube and from Facebook for monetizing our show because of all the viewers we are now getting. Also, thank you to those of you who have given us audio, video, and images for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
Oh, I'm always just excited for this sport and what's happening in it and around
Come on,
it.
the Dow hit a record today. Aren't you excited about that?
I missed that.
The Dow, I think, closed a record, and I think we're also got at least, it sounds like, one can hope, knock on wood, sounds like we might have a peace deal going on in Ukraine, Russia, and Europe and get that sorted out. One can only hope. I hope the rest of you, all of you, in fact, have a great rest of your week. We'll hope to see you on Friday, same time, same channel. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.